Look out, a pass ahead. Pasternak with a chance, scores! David Pasternak in overtime. And the Boston Bruins stay alive and send the series back to the Garden.
Series continues as the Sabres fell 2-1 to the Bruins in overtime last night. They did break the nasty streak of no power play goals for real this time as Rasmus Dahlin scored the only goal. Alex Lyon allowed the 2 goals on 29 shots as well. Game 6 set for Friday at 7:30 in Boston. A win still clinches for the Sabres. Other scores from last night, the Wild, they beat the Stars 4-2, and the Oilers beat the Ducks 4-1. Both series are tied 3-2. Looking around the NFL Network's Ian Rappaport reports Broncos quarterback Bo Nix underwent a successful and anticipated follow-up cleanup procedure on his ankle. ESPN's Adam Schefter believes the Eagles will receive a first-round pick for A.J. Brown from the Patriots when the trade comes together on June 1st. Schefter also reports that the Steelers placed the rare right of first refusal tender on quarterback Aaron Rodgers. The Athletics' Zach Rosenblatt reports the Jets are hosting Russell Wilson on a visit and are considering him as an option to be Geno Smith's number 2 quarterback. And Rams quarterback Ty Simpson said he had a, quote, secret meetings with head coach Sean McVay ahead of the 2026 NFL Draft. Join us in the fight against cancer by riding with the WGR Ride for Roswell team on Saturday, June 27th. When you sign up, you'll get a rider gift from WGR and Tom's Pro Bike on Walden Avenue in Lancaster. Plus, at the event, stop by our table and scan the QR code for a chance to win a $1,000 gift card to Tom's Pro Bike. Visit WGR550.com for all the details. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet, with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Joe Cali for Western New York's Voice of the Fans, WGR.
Blah. That stinks. Hey, everybody. Jeremy and Joe, good morning. Joe out. He's on leave. Announced yesterday the birth of his daughter that happened over the weekend, or early this week, whatever. But congratulations to them. So he gets some time off, and he gets to avoid. Blah. I'm not sitting here alone being sad by myself. So 803-0550 is the phone number. It was Boston's best game, right? It was definitely Boston's game. From the start, is Boston's best game.
I think they did what they wanted to do the whole series.
Yeah.
I think other than letting Buffalo score first, it was pretty much to a T what they want the game to look like.
Yeah, they were more desperate than they've been at any point this series. It was the first game that I thought the Bruins looked like the better team. Anyway, we can dig into that a little bit further if you want to, or we can just sit here and say, bah. When you have like the moment at home, next goal wins, and if it's our guys, it's the next round, Win a period, win a round. Score a goal, win a round. And instead, back to Boston, I think a lot of Sabres fans, of course, they'll talk about, like, are you nervous? Are you worried? The Bruins still have to win 2 more. And the Sabres have been the better team throughout the series. But if the game looks like last night's game, maybe it feels like 2 coin tosses because, well, whatever. The games could go the other way, too, where the Sabres look like the better team and Boston can still win. We've got road teams winning 4 out of 5 in this series. Only game 1. It was almost all 5 games were won by the road team. And the Noah Ostlund news is not good. That doesn't look good. That's got me much more nervous than the loss.
Agreed.
Not supposed to be where Noah Ostlund is like the glue that holds it together, but since they put him in the lineup, they looked better. Power play looked better. Lots of things looked better. So, I don't know. What do we do about it? What do we do with it? Process it with me. 803-0550.
I think the thing that you could sort of lean on, even though, last night did not go the way you wanted it to, I thought late in the third and through most of the overtime,
Dominant.
they deserved
Absolutely
the win.
Yeah.
Like they were all over the Bruins. Swayman made a save on Thompson off a pass from Krebs that was absurd with only a few minutes left that I thought was like, all right, well, that was it. You didn't score there. You're probably not beating this guy tonight, and he's stealing his team another game. That's what he does, and he was stellar again last night. And I thought he was the difference, like that those saves he made late in the third, and then early in overtime, all the way up until Pastrnak gets his breakaway. I thought were huge. I thought the Sabres generated enough that they would have liked to have converted on one of those chances, but, just didn't have it in the middle sort of portion of the game, and it just was too much time that slipped away from them.
Yep. Expected goals was about even. 3.5, 3.6. At even strength, it was similar. 2.5, 2.7. Like, yet an even game, which the Sabres, they gave up more than they normally give up in terms of scoring chances. But Swayman, you're right. Like, anytime that this team overpasses the puck, which they do from time to time, you're gonna think like, oh, it's because Swayman's in their head. And there were 2 or 3 times last night. McLeod's one of them.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, oh boy, they're thinking too much about how they're gonna beat him.
Yeah.
And he played great. So full credit to him. They rallied the troops. They played a great game. They played their best game of the series. And I guess I'm just going to keep saying that. That, like, of the things that worry you, 1, curses. 2, we never win anything. Granted, the first round. 3, Swayman getting hot. 4, Ostlund being likely out for a while. There's things there. And last night was the first night I thought, you mentioned that Tage chance, where I thought, like, it is time for Tage to score again.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm going to ask Paul today. So the lineup today, we got Paul at 8. We've got Marty Baron at 9. Joe Marino talks Bill's draft class with us at 7 o'clock, too. So we'll mix in some other stuff. But one thing I thought about this game and asking Paul at 8 o'clock is the whole your best players have to be your best players. And are the Sabres' best players being their best players still? In the first game of the series, that was the story. Thompson lifts them. But since then, now what?
I mean, you got Dahlin with a goal last night, which was, I think, big for him to get off the schneid.
Now, see, I didn't celebrate that as a power play goal because I was told to think of the other one like a power play goal.
Right.
So that
right.
didn't. No, I'm kidding. Of course. Yeah.
But I think that was nice, but you just, I think Thompson's got to make an impression on more than one game in the series. I thought he wasn't bad necessarily in either game in Boston.
No,
nobody was really good in game 2.
Yeah, game 4, everybody was fine.
Right, but I just think, that's a guy you need in a game that's that tight. Like, make a play.
Yeah.
Make something happen here. And
I thought he was engaged. I thought
Same.
It was just not working for him.
Exactly. Like there was one where he got into the slot with a really good look at the net and tried to pass it off, and that was one where I thought, like, man, shoot that puck. Like, you're Tage Thompson, you got a chance here. Like, take that over. And I maybe would have liked to see that a little bit. And I mean the best players, right? Like what happened last night for Boston? Pastrnak made a play, an incredible play with wearing Samuelson as a cape, gets around Lyon and wins the game for him. It's easy to say you would have liked your guy to do the same thing for you at some point, but I think they had the chances to.
Yep.
And so I think you gotta want a little more out of that.
803-0550 is our phone number, and 1-888-550-2550. Lots of time to commiserate today, talk about how this team can, of course, pick up the pieces, move on. I guess the pick up the pieces might be a phrase I say for when they actually get knocked out of the postseason. But whatever. 803-0550. We'll start with DJ in Lockport. DJ, good morning.
Hey, good morning. First off, I want to say Noah Ostlund is making an enormous contract while not being on the ice because this team is so much different when he's out there compared to when he isn't. And I hope Norris or I don't know whether they're going to bring Hellenius up to do something next game just to put some offensive spark in this team. But then I got to also say it's hard to play offense when you have Henry the Hitman Yoki Haru bear hugging you in front of the net, in front of the whole world in overtime. It's hard to score a goal when your arms are literally being held to your sides. There's a picture where he's literally picking Tage up like in a bear hug from behind. That the play down low with McLeod, the guy skates his butt off. He earns the look. And he's in one play, he's grabbed, dragged down, tripped, and then interfered with all in a matter of like 2 seconds. I understand it's overtime hockey. I'm 42 years old. I've watched hockey for a long time. But guys earn these looks, and then the interference happens. Then the hook happens. You got to make a call. To me, they say, "Oh, we want to put the whistles away because we don't want to, mess with the game by our calls." To me, not making the call is messing with the game because you're taking the thing that a team does good away by doing something that you're not supposed to do in the game to do it. It's mind-boggling.
Well,
and my last point,
yeah.
Jeremy, you're the guy to ask about this. I was waiting for the offside challenge there on past the next goal. I didn't know. I still haven't seen. I've been searching all night and all morning to find a look that shows that puck did not come over. It's over. Game's over. It is what it is. But I figured I would hear you say something about the offside challenge today.
Well,
that was a close one.
Yeah,
that was a close one.
So on that, they didn't stop the game for 20 minutes to review it on a pad. You got an explanation up in the press box? What was it?
For the offside? Or
Yeah, for offside.
The Sabres stood out on the bench and looked at it,
Yeah.
and they saw it was on.
Well,
there was a look from, I think it was the Nesson broadcast, had a look that it was pretty clear Pastrnak had the skate up in the air just after the puck crossed the line.
Okay, because I first wondered, they did not change the rule about having your skate up in the air, right? So if the skate is up in the air, that's offside.
No, it is
they
now.
Did
it's a
change
plane.
it?
Yeah, it's
okay.
a plane now.
Now
so
it's a plane.
You can get up.
Because I know at the beginning you had to be touching.
Right.
They did change that?
They did
okay.
change that, yes.
I'm allergic to learning that because I refuse to learn a thing about the offside challenge because it's ruined the game. It was a heck of a pass.
It was.
It was a heck of a play.
It really was an incredible job by both those guys. Lindholm to see Pastrnak coming off the bench after a bad change, and then Pastrnak to stay on, and then the ability to cut back on that play with Samuelsson all over him is really, really impressive.
Is that a reason that Lions should not have given up that post?
I think I said last night on postgame with Brian, like, I've as the goaltender, when you've got a guy coming in sort of from a side on a breakaway, Pastrnak doesn't come in totally off of a flank, but he's coming in from the dot lane, essentially. The top of the circle he crosses over and is coming at him from the side. And Samuelsson's all over him. As the goaltender, you would like to play it thinking, my guy's going to stop him from coming back across towards the other side. Because if I play this where I'm not going to get beat on the shot clean and I can get to my far post, those are the two options this guy can easily get. If he's able to cut back as my momentum carries me to the far post and, both me and my D got beat, what are you going to do? That's the game.
That's a great player.
And that's right. That's a great player making a great play. I got really no problem with Samuelsson doing anything he did. He tried, but Pastrnak is a superstar, so sometimes a good player is going to make a good play.
Yeah.
So sometimes you get beat like that.
It is, of course, on the penalties. There were easily 2 to 3 callable penalties in the Bruins' end. What stopped officials from calling penalties? I don't know if it was the third period or affecting the game, or if it was the Sabres scored a power play goal. Hey, look, the power play scored. All right, well, no more penalties for you. Now that you've actually shown you can beat it. Yeah.
Yeah, there were some real questionable moments from the officials last night.
Very.
that's
Very.
You've just got to like sort of factor that into this time of year.
I mean,
you're just
listen,
never going to get.
I don't think the Sabres were as bad as Boston was in Game 4 giving the puck away, but they gave the puck away all night.
Yeah.
They gave the puck away all night. You had a couple of times where they're in their own end trying to get out, and, as a viewer, you do the whole, no, why, what do you, no, Like, Stanley put it right in, like, the skates of Lyon on one play. Like, it was, whatever. Just, it looked like the loss of Östlund, shakes up two lines on the fly, and that's not something you can plan for. Norris, if he is, in fact, ready to rock, like, okay, he's back in, and hopefully you can get something out of that line, because in the first two games when he was out there on that line, you did not. No. You got very little from that line. And Östlund was super important here. So, what are they going to say? What are they going to say? Week to week? They're going to say
probably
long term.
They might go with day to day just to start, and then it'll probably transition into a week to week situation.
Yeah, I'm anticipating week to week.
Yeah.
I thought it was good news. Of course, he came back out on the bench and tried to skate.
Right,
but for Lindy to say it doesn't look good, like that to me is week to week.
I agreed. I thought
you're 4 to 6.
I thought when he came out to skate, like, oh, all right, at least he didn't like tear his ACL,
right, or break a bone,
right, or like something's broken here. But Lindy coming out afterwards and saying that is like, yeah, he's probably pretty jacked up. He's not probably soon to return, which is too bad.
Tough.
And if Norris isn't back, then you're in a spot.
Consta Helenas.
That's exactly right. Like, I think you're probably asking a guy that's never done it to come in the playoffs and go all right, you were great in the AHL. Let's see what you got.
Come give some offensive pop, because that's what they need is a little bit of offensive pop.
For sure. And I think you'll lose, some of the responsibility you get from both Norris and Östlund, but you're probably going to be able to replace at least some of that offensive production.
803-0550, 1-888-550-2550. Yeah, in the bullpen on YouTube, our YouTube chat, they're talking about the officials, talking about non-whistles, and Benson held right in the start of overtime.
Yeah.
Tough. Real tough. How about the goal that Boston scored that got whistled off? Like, that to me looked like the right call. I thought that was easy.
Yeah.
I even thought like Boston writers were saying like that's an easy call.
Yeah,
like,
that's
you got more pad than puck.
Right. The puck's jammed underneath his pad, and by definition, you are taking away his ability to stop it by moving his pad out.
The Sabres had a goal like that waved off in game 2? Game 1.
I think it was game 1.
Yeah,
early in game 1.
Yeah. Anyway, 803-0550. Are you nervous? I have started to think about what the Game 7 energy will be like.
Oof.
Because, Game 7 is, of course, like a big deal and stressful. And if it's a Game 7, I'll be at that Game 7. I also will self-report I did not wear my Tallinder jersey, which is 2-0 in these playoffs, but that's why I didn't wear it. Now it's going to be needed. Maybe I'll wear it on Sunday Game 7, or maybe I'll just wear it Friday for Game 6.
I changed up yesterday.
You changed up?
Yeah, I think that could have been a problem. Yeah.
Why is it a problem? You wear the same thing every game so far? Because they had lost already.
I wore what I wore for Game 2, thinking,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
See, I didn't do that.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Thinking I could change the mojo, I guess.
Game?
Yeah.
You were trying to clean, basically, a jersey that has been bad luck.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I didn't do that.
Yeah, that seems aggressive.
Felt good about him, I thought the cleaning could happen. I guess not.
Yeah.
So.
They scored first. You wondered if they could get going, and if they got a second goal there, it might have been, good night, lights out.
Yeah, that was really, I think, where it fell apart. I think if they scored early and kept playing well, they were destroying that team. But I think they scored, and then there was a long stretch late in the first, and then the whole second period and a little bit of the third, where it was just like, okay, they got nothing. Boston's just killing them, and that's just too much time. And you've got a goalie like Swayman that, all right, you can turn it on for 10 minutes at the end and some of overtime, but that gives him the opportunity to really make his impression on the game in that time. If you make him work that hard for the rest of the game, like if you get 4 more chances in the second period, it's far more likely one of those falls and you're in a much better position. But they let too much time get away from them, I think, in the middle portion of the game where they were getting just sort of outworked.
Rich in Lakeview. Hey, Rich.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to this episode of Drought Trauma, where we ask the question, does the Game 7 home loss wreck what could have been or should have been an incredible 2025-26 season? Because you're talking about bringing the energy on Sunday. How much more energy can you bring for the last two games? Banging the drum with arguably the biggest sports star in the history of Buffalo professional sports. And then yesterday, goosebump-inducing national anthem.
Yep.
It can't get any more juice in the building. And for the most part, Tage, Tuck, our big guys disappeared that we're worried about the, missing Osland and talking about face-offs of our fourth-line center. Drought trauma is strong this morning, gentlemen. I don't know. And is there a question now, Owen, if a change in keepers? I wouldn't, but I've seen it online, and
Yeah.
I don't know, guys. It's gonna be tough work until Friday because I'm on pins and needles.
Right. Thanks, Rich. Yeah, the extra day. I wouldn't say that, like, Tage and Tuck disappeared. I mean, they were active in the game. They did not get on the score sheet. But I don't think they disappeared. Thompson's line, when Thompson's on the ice, shot attempts are 27-24. Like, they were fine.
Yeah, I didn't think they were bad.
No.
It's just you want them to make a play that impacts the score sheet.
You want a puck behind the goalie.
Right.
I didn't think the Sabres played poorly. I did think Boston played better. And whatever, it's an even game mostly throughout. Expected goals were leaning towards the Sabres at the end of the first, and then it was a slow crawl back. Towards Boston at the end of the first. And, from like the midpoint, like you said, the midpoint of the third, when they killed off that final power play that Boston had.
Yep.
From that point to the end of the game, I felt like it was all Sabres, and then Pasternak scores.
Yeah, agreed.
You know?
They really controlled the rest of it from that kill. Like you said, that was sort of my turning point, too, is I thought they had a good kill, and then, all right, let's go win this thing. And they did all they could, and Swayman beat them.
Yeah. And, I don't know, like you're gonna have a lot of juice in the second round, the third round, the fourth round. It was game 5 of the first round. The idea that we've peaked on juice, I think, is a little bit premature too. Who knows who comes in and bangs the drum next or appears at the game? The anthem was, of course, a great moment. We'll get into that more a little bit later on. But what would a loss in this series do to this season? It'd be an unfortunate end.
Yeah.
It certainly wouldn't undo what the season was. I want to say that now. Not that I want to, give too much breath to the idea that they're going to lose 3 in a row and lose the series. It could happen, but I also had someone last night say, like, oh, here it comes. They're going to lose 3-1 and be the laughing stock of the league. To which I responded, losing 3-1 leads in hockey happens all the time.
Yeah.
It happens like every postseason, and you don't even remember who it happens to with the teams that maybe lose to. It's just not something I would think about. Like, didn't the Leafs blow a 3-1 lead to the Panthers somewhere along the way in these
on
the Cup run for the Panthers?
Yes.
It's unfortunate, but it's not exactly laughing stock status.
No.
So I don't know. Maybe that's drought trauma speaking, or you think you're going to be a laughing stock again.
I think that's right. Yeah, I think it's just people here don't want it to be sour. They want
we don't want it to end.
Don't let the ride end.
That's what Game 7. If it gets to Game 7, the Sabres have played how many Game 7s in franchise history, and they do not have a very good record in Game 7 in franchise history. So, like, you've got your Derek Plant win, and I think that's the only one, right? They do not have a lot of Game 7 wins. They have Game 7 losses. They have Game 7 loss in Carolina. They have Game 7 loss to Philadelphia when the most recent playoffs that they made it happened. So what would it do to this year to lose? It would stink. But I think what has happened this year has been transformative to, distance yourself from the drought. The drought is over, and they won the division. And they look like they got a bright future. And if they were to bow out, what would we talk about? A top 6 forward and what they might do in goal. If they're going to keep what they're doing or try something bigger. That's my guess. Bring up some of your young guys, whatever. We'll get to that when the time's right. On switching goalie,
nah,
I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so.
Not after
an overtime breakaway. I don't think so. game. The first goal, is that on him? Like, that's a lot of traffic, spinning shooter.
You would have liked him to maybe get a little more depth.
Sure.
He was pretty deep, but that's kind of the way he plays.
Yeah.
And so you're going to eat that kind of goal when he makes the sort of consistent saves he does. That's just kind of the kind of play that would beat him.
And I don't know if it makes a difference that you're on the road. Like, maybe if you lose game 6 in Boston, then the conversation gets even tougher. Now it's one game to, move to the next round, and who do I trust the most? I think I trust Lyon. I certainly trust Lyon on the road. He won 2 games in Boston, gave up 2 goals in 2 games, and made a penalty shot save up there. Like,
Yeah. I mean, if they want to do the rotation thing truly in the playoffs,
now's the time to start.
Then you go win and you're in, and Lyon lost, so you're back in, Luukkonen.
Yeah, and you play him game 6, and either you go to the next round or you come back home with Lyon.
Right. And so
if you wanted to, I wouldn't do it.
I would not either. I think Lyon's been better than Luukkonen was in any of his games. So I think you stick with that because I think he gives you the best chance to win right now. But you might think that maybe you're worried about Lyon getting tired or you're worried about whatever because he hasn't played this kind of stretch all year, and other than maybe at the start of the year when he played 9 of 11. But that you could make a case for that. So it'll be a story.
803-0550. Paul Hamilton at 8 o'clock. Marty Baron at 9 o'clock. Joe Marino will talk Bills draft class with us at 7, and we take you through your Wednesday morning. 2 days to stew on that one and stress out before Game 6, 7:30 Friday night in Boston. Start to make your plans. Where's there going to be a watch party? What are we all going to do for it? Someone had a chance. For a moment, we were almost at Sabres legend Tyson Kozak. That was close near the end of the third period. 803-0550. Jeremy and Joe. Joe's out. Congratulations to him and his family, he and his wife, on the birth of their daughter. And he'll be back, soon enough. Hopefully the Sabres are still playing when he is back. 803-0550, 1-888-550-2550 on WGR. And last night was the first night I thought, you mentioned that Tage chance, where I thought, like, it is time for Tage to score again.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm going to ask Paul today. So the lineup today, we got Paul at 8. We've got Marty Baron at 9. Joe Marino talks Bill's draft class with us at 7 o'clock, too. So we'll mix in some other stuff. But one thing I thought about this game and asking Paul at 8 o'clock is, the whole your best players have to be your best players, and are the Sabres' best players being their best players still? In the first game of the series, that was the story. Thompson lifts them. But since then, now what?
I mean, you got Dahlin with a goal last night, which was, I think, big for him to get off the schneid.
Now, see, I didn't celebrate that as a power play goal because I was told to think of the other one like a power play goal.
Right.
So that didn't. No, I'm kidding. Of course.
Yeah. But I think that was nice, but you just... Yeah, I think Thompson's got to make an impression on more than one game in the series. I thought he wasn't bad necessarily in either game in Boston.
No,
nobody was really good in game 2.
Yeah, game 4, everybody was fine.
Right, but I just think, that's a guy you need in a game that's that tight. Like, make a play. Yeah. Make something happen here. And
I thought he was engaged. I thought it was just not working for him.
Exactly. Like there was one where he got into the slot with a really good look at the net and tried to pass it off, and that was one where I thought, like, man, shoot that puck. Like, you're Tage Thompson. You got a chance here. Like, take that over. And I maybe would have liked to see that a little bit. And yeah, I mean the best players, right? Like what happened last night for Boston? Pasternak made a play, an incredible play with wearing Samuelson as a cape, gets around Lyon and wins the game for him. It's easy to say you would have liked your guy to do the same thing for you at some point, but I think they had the chances to.
Yep.
And so I think you gotta want a little more out of that.
When you have like the moment at home, next goal wins, and if it's our guys, it's the next round, Win a period, win a round. Score a goal, win a round. And instead, back to Boston, I think a lot of Sabres fans, of course, they will talk about, are you nervous? Are you worried? The Bruins still have to win 2 more. And the Sabres have been the better team throughout the series. But if the game looks like last night's game, maybe it feels like 2 coin tosses because, well, whatever. The games could go the other way, too, where the Sabres look like the better team and Boston can still win. We've got road teams winning 4 out of 5 in this series. Only game 1. It was almost all 5 games were won by the road team. And the Noah Ostlund news is not good. That doesn't look good. That's got me much more nervous than the loss.
Agreed.
Not supposed to be where Noah Ostlund is like the glue that holds it together, but since they put him in the lineup, they looked better. Power play looked better. Lots of things looked better. So, I don't know. What do we do about it? What do we do with it? Process it with me. 803-0550.
I think the thing that you could sort of lean on, even though, last night did not go the way you wanted it to, I thought late in the third and through most of the overtime,
dominant.
They deserved
absolutely
the win. Like they were all over the Bruins. Swayman made a save on Thompson off a pass from Krebs that was absurd with only a few minutes left that I thought was like, all right, well, that was it. You didn't score there. You're probably not beating this guy tonight, and he's stealing his team another game. That's what he does. And he was stellar again last night, and I thought he was the difference. Like that those saves he made late in the third and then early in overtime all the way up until Pastrnak gets his breakaway, I thought were huge. I thought the Sabres generated enough that they, would have liked to have converted on one of those chances, but, just didn't have it in the middle sort of portion of the game, and it just was too much time that slipped away from them.
Yep.
Look out, a pass ahead. Pastrnak with a chance, scores! David Pastrnak in overtime. And the Boston Bruins stay alive and send the series back to the Garden.
Series continues on as the Sabres fell 2-1 to the Bruins in overtime last night. They did break the nasty streak of no power play goals for real this time as Rasmus Dahlin scored the one and only. Alex Lyon allowed the 2 goals on 29 shots. Game 6 set for Friday at 7:30 in Boston. A win still clinches for the Sabres. Some other scores from last night. The Wild, they beat the Stars 4-2. The Oilers beat the Ducks 4-1. Both series are 3-2. Looking around the NFL, NFL Network's Ian Rappaport reports the Broncos quarterback, Bo Nix, underwent a successful and anticipated follow-up cleanup procedure on his ankle. ESPN's Adam Schefter believes the Eagles will receive a first-round pick for A.J. Brown from the Patriots when the trade, quote, comes together on June 1st. Schefter also reports that the Steelers placed the rare right of first refusal tender on quarterback Aaron Rodgers. The Athletics' Zach Rosenblatt reports the Jets, they're hosting Russell Wilson on a visit and are considering him as an option to be Geno Smith's number 2 quarterback. And Rams quarterback Ty Simpson said he had, quote, secret meetings with head coach Sean McVay ahead of the 2026 NFL Draft. Every mile tells a story. Help us celebrate those who make the Ride for Roswell a success. Whether you ride, volunteer, or donate, you are making a difference. Share your story of why you take part in the Ride for Roswell and tag RFR 2026 for a chance to be featured. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet, with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Joe Cali for Western New York's Voice of the Fans, WGR.
Thompson's in front. Puck doesn't get there. It scores! Rasmus Dahlin! The captain starts it.
One of the Firth moments of the game brought to you by Firth Jewelers. So the moments in your life go forth to Firth. A power play goal. The only goal. What did it cost? Everything. They did not score on 5-on-5, and they lost to the Bruins 2-1 in overtime. One thing I learned during the game is that by being on the radio for 4 hours a day and merely mentioning the idea that overtime could be a thing that happens and checking that, oh, this is only one of 2 series so far that hasn't had an overtime game, is when the game goes to overtime. The number of people that said, like, oh, you called it. I'm like, I didn't call it. I was just saying, like, it'd be pretty wild if there was an overtime game. That would be pretty intense. The number of people that tweeted me and friends that texted me saying, like, it's your fault. My fault? You know how many things we talk about in 4 hours? A lot. Can't have those great moments without the stress, you know? And, man, overtime was stressful. I watched the game at home. My wife went to the game. I was at home watching outside, watching out back. And the number of times I involuntarily stood after sitting down, then stood right back up and sat down. It's the sound of the day. Just the groan. Just the stress. Still could be greatness. Still could be an incredible moment. They could, win it in Game 6, win it in Game 7. Just win the series. Just win. Just find a way.
How did that playoff put-down go last night?
Playoff put-down with the kids? Not great. Non-existent kind of great. Nope, did not really work the way that I wanted to.
Too much excitement about
I just made the call that I wasn't going to show them much of the game because, I got into the first. I got the youngest down during the first period, and then tried to get the other 2 down during the first intermission. That took a long time. I will say, however, I put an AirPod in and was listening to the game while I was doing getting the kids for bed, and early in the first period, I saw the Dahlin goal, and then later on, there was a penalty kill where Greenway cleared the puck, and listening only on an AirPod, the roar was so loud I thought they scored. I knew they were shorthanded. I heard the roar for the clear and thought, Shorty, that's a crowd pop for a goal. It was just for a clear, which, says a lot about the crowd. So 803-0550. Of course, a huge moment in the building and legendary kind of moment is the Canadian anthem when the mic cuts out and everybody sings. And are we prepared now for the entire hockey world to react to say, I knew that they played the anthem, but those people know the words too?
Yeah, it was such a shock earlier, in the series that they even did both. So right. I think it's going to be crazy.
They've been playing both anthems forever, and NHL people that have covered this league for decades, wow, they play both anthems? Isn't that weird? And here's, even a great moment. Cammy Clooney's mic cuts out, and the whole crowd can sing it.
It was really, really cool.
Yeah,
I thought it was a special thing. I'll bet there were a lot of Canadian fans that were like, all right, I see you, Buffalo.
I was online reading a lot of the responses to, the people posting the video of that moment, and a lot of the reaction was from Canadians just basically saying, you know what, that town rocks.
Yeah.
But it's a border town. They could probably do that in Detroit. I know they don't play both anthems, but, you might know both anthems if you're in Detroit.
I wonder if they would.
Maybe not.
Because if you're not playing it at the game, how do we all know it?
Where are you playing it?
Right.
Right. We all know it because we hear it at the games every time we go.
Right. I hear it. Yeah, we hear it at every game. We hear it. College hockey in this area does it too. It's not unusual at all to play both anthems. So 803-0550. You're welcome, Canada. We hammered out the anthem at the arena. It was a great moment. 803-0550. And then the Blade Gang bangs the drum. That's a point. That's a point for Joe Kelly. He takes a 2-1 lead in the drum banger draft after getting Josh Allen and the Blade Gang, who he picked up on waivers. And now he has an open roster spot. And now we're talking about a Game 7 drum banger, maybe, if we make it that far.
Mm-hmm.
Will Boston think they're going to win the series now? You know how it works. Boston wins a game, and they're like, it's over. It's ours now. It's over.
We're going to come back to Boston. We're going to smack these guys.
It's over.
The fans have already turned that direction.
I bet. From this team is a bunch of gutless, heartless losers who don't even care to, I think we'll take it in 7.
Yeah.
Cannot lose to this team.
Another moment in the arena last night. Did you see the the Whitney chug. They put him on the Jumbotron
with a beer saber,
and he tried to drink out of a beer saber, and everybody else. Here's what I think happened: is somebody warned him, like, "Hey, everybody that tries to chug out of these things pours half the beer on their face."
Yeah,
and I think he was a little timid, because he went back with it. And like it was like 3 separate chugs.
Yeah,
like he went like like it was as embarrassing a chug as you could ever have.
Not a good effort, huh?
Not a good effort.
You just gotta sign up for the fact that you're gonna pour beer on yourself.
Right. I think that you have to embrace that. If you're doing the beer saber thing, you gotta go like, I'm just gonna eat 40% of this beer might get all over me, but I'm gonna hammer it. Or otherwise, you risk looking like Whitney did last night, and it was a disaster.
He said that he did it out at the plaza, out in the party, right? So he did one on the stage, and then it poured all over the jersey, and everyone's like, "You got to go slow. You got to go slow."
Yeah,
and then
you just can't do that. You got to go fast. You got to you got to take the loss.
Yeah,
Portnoy was clowning him online after that.
Yeah,
there's a video of him laughing at him.
Press release. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a real thing.
I said this to my buddy I was watching the game with. I do appreciate, first off, Rasmus Dahlin did it too when he said that how everything come together this year. He said we drink beers. That the Sabres have definitely leaned into it. I heard also that Thurman chugged a beer at the game.
Yeah, Thurman hammered.
All right, way to go, Thurman.
Like,
get him for the drum bang on Game 7 if we need him.
We've got a lot of drum banger picks that have just been chugging beers and beer sabers. So
it's true.
We're feeling good.
He crushed one. Like, even gave it the old
nice
tip it upside down when it's done, and just a couple of drops of foam.
Beauty.
Come falling out. It was really legit. Yeah.
803-0550. Andrew in Japan is up. Andrew, good morning.
Morning. I'm from Western New York, but I'm watching the series from Okinawa, Japan, and I got to say that this series has been absolutely brutal in my time zone. I'm 13 hours ahead of East Coast time zone.
So what time?
So
that means it's like
PM.
8 a.m. games.
Right. So 7:30 p.m. on a Tuesday night is 8:30 a.m. on a Wednesday here. So I've been at work for most of these games, and the first time I got to watch any of it live, it was Monday morning at 3 a.m. here, and I watched the first period where they went up 4-0 in the last game before today. But it's been brutal. The 2 days off, although it sucks to have to wait that long, it's going to be nice having a game that's on a Saturday morning here, so I'll actually get to watch the whole thing. But I said it before the series started, and I'm going to stick with it. I think it'll be Sabres in 6. I think they'll go into Boston and they'll win. I think we'll get, if not one, then more goals that we'll just remember forever, right? Like making Sabres history, going into hostile territory and winning a series on the road.
Let's hope. Thanks, Andrew, for the phone call. 8 a.m. games. Watching the different time zones, to that point, I don't know. 8 a.m. is better than 1 a.m. I just experienced that. I was overseas a little bit a month ago, or earlier this month, I should say, and watched Sabres games that started at midnight. That was tough. I'd take 8 a.m. I'd love it if Game 6 started in like an hour and a half. I'm ready to, wash the taste out of that last move. Thanks for the phone call. 803-0550, 1-888-550-2550. We won't get a time for a potential Game 7 until, I guess, after Game 6. I'm wondering because, planning and things like that. There could also be, as we pointed out, 3 Games 7 that day. So anyway, hopefully it doesn't happen. But if it were to happen on the 3rd, which is Sunday, Buffalo, Boston, Montreal, Tampa, and Utah, Vegas would all be that day. That's the last day of round 1. No matter how it all shakes out, no matter who plays that day, May 3rd is the last day of round 1. 803-0550 and 1-888-550-2550. We'll mix in some Bills. Joe Marino on the Bills draft class coming up top of the hour. And we'll see how he's dealing with last night's loss, which was a tough one. Being in overtime, a chance to advance, and my analogies are always golf-based. Here you are. You have a putt for your best ever round, and you 3-jack it. And all right, well, you can play tomorrow. Reset, start again. 803. Maybe that's why it's the hardest sport to win, right? The hardest trophy to win because 3-0, 3-1. You got to get these teams all the way out, and Boston is not yet all the way out. We'll keep talking about it with you. 803-0550 here on WGR. When you have, like, the moment at home, next goal wins, and if it's our guys, it's the next round, you know? Win a period, win a round. Score a goal, win a round. And instead, back to Boston, you know, I think a lot of Sabres fans, of course, they'll talk about, like, are you nervous? Are you worried? The Bruins still have to win 2 more. And the Sabres have been the better team throughout the series. But if the game looks like last night's game, maybe it feels like 2 coin tosses because – well, whatever. The games could go the other way, too, where the Sabres look like the better team and Boston can still win. We've got road teams winning 4 out of 5 in this series. Only game 1. It was almost all 5 games were won by the road team. And the Noah Ostlund news is not good. That doesn't look good. That's got me much more nervous than the loss.
Agreed.
Not supposed to be where Noah Ostlund is like the glue that holds it together, but since they put him in the lineup, they looked better. Power play looked better. Lots of things looked better. So, I don't know. What do we do about it? What do we do with it? Process it with me. 803-0550.
I think the thing that you could sort of lean on, even though, you know, last night did not go the way you wanted it to, I thought late in the third and through most of the overtime,
Dominant.
They deserved
Absolutely
the win.
Yeah.
Like they were all over the Bruins. Swayman made a save on Thompson off a pass from Krebs that was absurd with only a few minutes left that I thought was like, all right, well, that's like that was it. You didn't score there. You're probably not beating this guy tonight, and he's stealing his team another game. That's what he does, and he was stellar again last night, and I thought he was the difference. Like that those saves he made late in the third and then early in overtime, all the way up until Pastrnak gets his breakaway, I thought were huge. I thought the Sabres generated enough that they, you know, would have liked to have converted on one of those chances, but, you know, just didn't have it in the middle sort of portion of the game, and it just was too much time that slipped away from them.
Yep. And last night was the first night I thought, you mentioned that Tage chance, where I thought, like, it is time for Tage to score again.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things I'm going to ask Paul today. So the lineup today, we got Paul at 8. We've got Marty Baron at 9. Joe Marino talks Bill's draft class with us at 7 o'clock, too. So we'll mix in some other stuff. But one thing I thought about this game and asking Paul at 8 o'clock is the whole your best players have to be your best players. And are the Sabres' best players being their best players still? In the first game of the series, that was the story. Thompson lifts them. But since then, you know, now what?
I mean, you got Dahlin with a goal last night, which was, I think, big for him to get off the schneid.
Now, see, I didn't celebrate that as a power play goal because I was told to think of the other one like a power play goal.
Right.
Right? So that
right.
didn't. No, I'm kidding. Of course. Yeah.
But I think that was nice, but you just, I think Thompson's got to make an impression on more than one game in the series. I thought he wasn't bad necessarily in either game in Boston.
No,
nobody was really good in game 2.
Yeah, game 4, everybody was fine.
Right, but I just think, you know, that's a guy you need in a game that's that tight. Like, make a play.
Yeah.
Make something happen here. And
I thought he was engaged. I thought, like,
Same.
it was just not working for him.
Exactly. Like there was one where he got into the slot with a really good look at the net and tried to pass it off, and that was one where I thought, like, man, shoot that puck. Like, you're Tage Thompson. You got a chance here. Like, take that over. And I maybe would have liked to see that a little bit. And I mean the best players, right? Like what happened last night for Boston? Pastrnak made a play, an incredible play with wearing Samuelson as a cape, gets around Lyon and wins the game.
there a reason for the song?
This is always it's a sneaky Joe get here. Susudio by Phil Collins. It's like his, least favorite. It's a little bit.
Really? He hates this song? All right, I didn't know. He announced the birth of his daughter, which happened on Monday. Congratulations to them.
He couldn't resist memeing her until she wasn't even a week old.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, speaking of kids, my black eye on my right is showing pretty well today.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah, was it day 3 or
It's day
day
3.
2? Yeah,
This is
day
my
3
son,
is a big day.
My son headbutted me, and I look like I got punched in the face above the eye. So anyway, when I put my glasses on, you can't see it as much. Kind of covers it, but
it's good.
If you're on the stream, you see it like, bam, that guy got tagged. That was me. 803-0550. I showed it to him yesterday. I'm like, look at this. Don't feel bad. It's okay. It was an accident. Anyway, I want to just say something quickly before I get back to calls. We will not be on the air between games 6 and 7. And game 7 could possibly happen. So given that we have, 12 hours of content between now and the next game, the concept of game 7 might come up, folks.
Yes, sorry.
It just might come up.
I know it's scary.
Don't tell me that we're like Sean in the chat. He's speaking it into existence. It might happen. The same way when, who do you want to play? Tampa or Montreal. It might happen that they go on to that round. So we've got lots of time. Relax. And stop blaming me for overtime.
It's going to be okay.
I don't know if it is or not.
Right.
If you can tell by my tone, I'm not sure. Stressing out. Mark is up next. Hey, Mark, good morning.
Good morning. I'd like to get your guys' opinion on this. Last week when we played in Boston and we made it a 4-2 game towards the end with those couple late goals. I said afterwards, you got to if Oslin's healthy, we need him in the lineup. If he's not, I call Hellenius down the thruway. Now, I feel the same way this morning. I'd like to get your guys' opinion on this. He's got 63 points, 63 regular season games for Rochester this year.
Oh, he's been great. And at that age, he's putting up monster numbers. Yep.
4 points in 9 games for the Sabres, playing minimal minutes on the fourth line. He scored in the playoffs for Rochester. These other teams are playing their top prospects. He's better than Dunn, Kozak, all those guys. I feel we could get the jump we need if we threw him in the lineup, and I'd like to know what your guys' thoughts are and if you think that they might do it.
I wonder, Mark, thanks for the phone call. I don't know. I don't know if they would feel like they can trust him or what kind of minutes he might offer. He's definitely put up incredible numbers in Rochester for a 19-year-old. Like the sky's the limit, and I expect him here next year.
Oh yeah, I think
for
he's
sure,
definitely here next year.
And could he be a part of what they got going forward? I mean, Boston, they dressed James Higgins. They also have since scratched him,
right?
But I mean, it's up to the coaches. You want me to say they should or shouldn't? It's always enticing to put scoring pop into a lineup. The question is, do you feel like, you'd be in trouble for any reason if you did?
Yeah, the concern would be, he's a 19-year-old kid that's only got a handful of NHL games to his name, and throwing him into a game 6 of a first-round, Stanley Cup playoff series might be a little bit of a jump. But he has shown an ability to perform at a really high level with Rochester, so it's definitely something that you're thinking about today if you're Lindy Ruff or the coaching staff. How much do we think he can handle it? Yeah. Like, do we think he's going to be overwhelmed by the speed and strength of it? I don't think he'll be overwhelmed by the speed of it. Maybe the strength. I don't know that he's got the sort of grown man strength yet that you need. But, he's so skilled, he might be able to just sort of scoot by without it.
The Sabres have played 7 Game 7s in franchise history. Maybe it'll only be 7 because they win in Boston. Speak that into existence. They have 1 win. 6 losses. Boston in its franchise history has played 31 Game 7s, the most of any team. 803-0550, our phone number. More of your phone calls. We'll check in with Joe Marino of the Locked On Bills podcast about the Bills draft class as well. Paul Hamilton, Martin Biron, all coming up here on WGR. When you have, the moment at home, next goal wins, and if it's our guys, it's the next round, Win a period, win a round. Score a goal, win a round. And instead, back to Boston, I think a lot of Sabres fans, of course, they'll talk about, are you nervous? Are you worried? The Bruins still have to win 2 more. And the Sabres have been the better team throughout the series. But if the game looks like last night's game, maybe it feels like 2 coin tosses because, well, whatever. The games could go the other way, too, where the Sabres look like the better team and Boston can still win. We've got road teams winning 4 out of 5 in this series. Only game 1. It was almost all 5 games were won by the road team. And the Noah Ostlund news is not good. That doesn't look good. That's got me much more nervous than the loss.
Agreed.
Not supposed to be where Noah Ostlund is like the glue that holds it together, but since they put him in the lineup, they looked better. Power play looked better. Lots of things looked better. So, I don't know. What do we do about it? What do we do with it? Process it with me. 803-0550.
I think the thing that you could sort of lean on, even though, last night did not go the way you wanted it to, I thought late in the third and through most of the overtime,
dominant.
They deserved
absolutely
the win.
Yeah.
Like they were all over the Bruins. Swayman made a save on Thompson off a pass from Krebs that was absurd with only a few minutes left that I thought was all right, well, that was it. You didn't score there. You're probably not beating this guy tonight, and he's stealing his team another game. That's what he does, and he was stellar again last night. And I thought he was the difference, that those saves he made late in the third, and then early in overtime, all the way up until Pastrnak gets his breakaway. I thought were huge. I thought the Sabres generated enough that they would have liked to have converted on one of those chances, but, just didn't have it in the middle sort of portion of the game, and it just was too much time that slipped away from them.
Yep.
Look out, a pass ahead. Pasternak with a chance, scores! David Pasternak in overtime. And the Boston Bruins stay alive and send the series back to the Garden.
The series rolls on as the Sabres fell 2-1 to the Bruins in overtime last night. They did break the nasty streak of no power play goals for real this time as Rasmus Dahlin scored the one and only goal. Alex Lyon allowed the 2 goals on 29 shots. Game 6 set for Friday at 7:30 in Boston. A win still clinches for the Sabres. Some other scores from last night. The Wild, they beat the Stars 4-2. The Oilers beat the Ducks 4-1. Both series are at 3-2. Around the NFL, NFL Network's Ian Rappaport reports Broncos quarterback Bo Nix underwent a successful and anticipated follow-up cleanup procedure on his ankle. ESPN's Adam Schefter believes the Eagles will receive a first-round pick for A.J. Brown from the Patriots when the trade comes together on June 1st. Schefter also reports the Steelers placed the rare right of first refusal tender on quarterback Aaron Rodgers. The Athletics' Zach Rosenblatt reports the Jets, they're hosting Russell Wilson on a visit and are considering him as an option to be Geno Smith's number 2 quarterback. And Rams quarterback Ty Simpson said he had, quote, secret meetings with head coach Sean McVay ahead of the 2026 NFL draft. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Joe Cali for Western New York's Voice of the Fans, WGR.
It means a lot to me. I'm a people person. The people make the place. And I'm coming from a organization in Clemson, whereas everything was about family, about people. And I'm just so glad that Bills Mafia is the same way. I come in here and, I want to introduce myself to everybody here because if we all going to work together, I want it to be a great environment where we can be ourselves. That's just how I roll, and that's just what I do, and that's what I stand for. So.
It's T.J. Parker, one of the Bills draft picks. Of course, we're going to spend some time on the Bills draft, looking back at it with Joe Marino in just a moment. But, of course, wrapping up the loss to the Bruins last night, a 2-1 overtime defeat, first overtime game in this series. It's been a tight series in most of the games. Of course, Game 4, the Sabres blew them out, and now they force Game 6, the Bruins do, with a David Pasternak goal that was onside. It's an incredible play. Stinks. So anyway, we're talking about it with you. 803-0550 and 1-888-550-2550. It's not exactly worse news, but it feels like doubling down on the bad news is what Lindy Ruff had to say about Noah Ostlund, that he would be, it didn't look good. Didn't look good. So we'll see if there's any sort of update on him, what kind of timeline there might be. But, yeah. Tough one for the Sabres. Tough one for I thought the officials in overtime missed a couple of blatant penalties on Boston. Then, the Bruins immediately scored. So we'll get a quick call and then get Joe Marino on the Locked On Bills podcast. But Mike in Florida. Mike, good morning.
Good morning. Hey, guys, I just wanted to point out it seems like maybe the stars are aligning for a curse on the Bruins because Friday is May 1st. That is May Day.
Yeah.
So, maybe an overtime goal on Friday was going to be a double curse on the Bruins for May Day.
I like that. Thanks, Mike. Friday is May Day, May 1st. All right. I feel better. Right? What a story that would be. Somebody scores in overtime in Boston on May Day. Does that mean if they don't, then Brad May can't bang the drum for Game 7 if there is a Game 7? I don't know. I like that, though. I like that angle. The Sabres lost, and, it's raining. It's going to be 40. I was just saying, we went from yesterday, last couple days, 70s, vibes are good, to, I'm just here alone. Don't blame me for the creeping stress. I was talking to Howard the other day. He's going to come in. Howard's going to come in someday, maybe this week or next week, to pop in for an hour and just hang out while Joe's out on leave. And he said he wanted to come in today, but I'm not coming in if they lose. So he's not coming in today. Anyway, 803-0550 and 1-888-550-2550 if you want to join us on the Sabres. And we'll spend a few minutes here on the Bills draft class, just kind of looking back at what they did with Joe Marino of the Locked On Bills podcast. Joe, did you make it for overtime last night?
No, the 18 minutes between the third period and overtime got me. So I woke up in a panic And whatever the game was after was on my screen, and I had to, middle of the night, look at the phone, find out the disappointment, and here we are. And look, now I think the real loss is now we got to listen to that Boston anthem singer again. Like I thought we were done with that guy, and now he's back.
Yeah. Of course, one of the big stories of last night was the anthem here in Buffalo, and singing of "O Canada" when the anthem singer's mic goes out. Really great moment. On to Boston. On with our continued whatever. I want to say rivalry, but I don't feel like Boston doesn't think about Buffalo too much. In football, they do these days because of the division, and they always think they're going to win everything, but we'll see if they do. So, Game 6.
Well, I think the way the Bruins have played a little bit here, a little extra from time to time. I think they're certainly building up some bad blood, at least from this Sabres fans' perspective. I'm not enjoying those guys. Those guys are punks.
Yeah. 803-0550 if you want to talk to us on the Sabres and the Bruins going to Game 6. Joe, we'll spend a couple minutes here on the Bills draft. We heard from DJ Parker right there, and the way the draft goes. Give us a quick rundown of your reaction. I know you had a similar reaction to a lot of Bills fans, which is, after the third round, kind of wondering the direction of it all, like how this thing would turn itself or how it would go from start to finish. And I know by the end, you ended up pretty happy.
Yeah, I think night one where Bean was able to execute the trades back was really good work. That's kind of always been my tone with the way the Bills should approach this draft is they entered it 26th in the league in draft capital. And so I didn't once Casey Concepcion went at 24, it was my belief that trading out was the right move. And I thought Bean did a good job of giving himself more chances to hit on picks, right? And so instead of picking at 26 and 91, obviously that turned into a lot more in terms of picks that were made. And then day two happened, and it was a little bit of a disappointment for me. Not that I thought T.J. Parker and Davis and Igbinosun were completely fine selections. Like, those are perfectly good prospects to draft in the spots they were drafted, right? All of that checked out for me, but it was like, all right, this is another edge rusher that's kind of similar to what they already have. And then you get a corner that you look at the outlook, and barring an injury, there's not much of a path for him to get on the field. And so they're like depth picks with your two most meaningful selections. And it went into day three, like, where's the impact going to come from this class? Because we're all craving it. It's been several years of draft classes that just haven't quite delivered. And you wanted to see a path for that to happen. And then, day three comes together, and I thought Bean just absolutely nailed it with picks that I really liked at positions that I thought needed to be addressed. And then you zoom out and you tie it back together to the picks on day two. And I think you can see an overall vision that lands for me and certainly infuses this defense with a lot more depth in key areas and, a little help for the offensive line, a receiver that I really liked in the fourth round. So it came together, but piecing it together on the fly was, filled with some ups and downs.
Yeah. It's the second straight year where the Bills focus really, I think, on defense primarily. And we're kind of waiting to see this whole thing put together. I asked Brandon Bean on Monday about it, like how it is building a defense that kind of only exists on paper and the challenge that they might have trying to figure each guy's role while changing those roles. And what do you think we've learned about what they intend to do on defense based on how they've spent this offseason?
Well, it's been a lot of transition defensively over the last few years, and so it's really fun to kind of consider what this defense is going to look like. But the two prevailing thoughts for me on what these picks tell us about what this defense is going to look like is, number one, while they are switching to a 3-4 defense, we need to disassociate our minds from it being a classic two-gapping 3-4 defense. You think about those Patriots defenses that had Vince Wilfork in the middle and Hall of Famer and Richard Seymour at the 5 technique, and then Ty Warren's the other one. And it's like, these are fire hydrant, stationary guys that are going to lock, peek, shed, own that space. I don't think that's what the Bills are going to do. I think this is going to be a movement-based 3-4 front where it's not stationary two-gappers. It's defensive linemen that are going to have pre-snap shifts. They're going to slant. They're going to stunt to change gaps. They're going to do all those movement types things to disrupt the blocking schemes and create some chaos and create some confusion. And I mean, you just look at the makeup of the room. There is not a single player in this mix that projects as a two-gapping style player. They're all athletic players with, some of them with very good length, where I think it's going to be movement-based. And so, we kind of went into this thinking, oh, my goodness, 3-4, got to find a nose tackle, got to find a 5-tech that can really tie the scheme together. But they continue to tell us through their personnel moves that that's not what they're looking for. So I think that's number one, is calibrating my expectations for what's going to be asked of this front. And then the other thing is just that this defense, when it comes to the secondary, is going to be pretty multiple. Obviously, I think Benford and Harrison will be your every down outside corners. TJ Gardner-Johnson and Bishop will be your every down safeties. But when they're in nickel and dime, 5 DBs, 6 DBs, which I think will be every bit of 60, 70% of the snaps, that group could look different. I think D. Alford will play a ton in the slot, but I think this is going to be a defense that plays the matchup. And so whenever the Bills were in nickel in the past under McDermott, it was, okay, Taron Johnson's on the field, that's it. Like, those are the 5 players that they would have. This will be matchup specific, where it'll be a lot of D. Alford, but they have IGB, right, who I think can situationally play. In going back to Denver, they had a very defined corner situation, but they drafted Jahdae Barron in the first round, and he played situationally in the slot. He played situationally in dime packages on the second level. You have Jalen Kilgore, who they drafted in the 5th round, who's a height, weight, speed guy that can play in the slot and from depth at safety with ball skills. They have C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who's super versatile. And so I think we need to get excited about where the sub-package groupings can go and it being more matchup specific, which is a big shift. So those are my 2 big thoughts on what these picks tell us about the defense, is that it's not a 2-gapping 3-4, it's a movement-based front, and that there's going to be a lot of versatility with how they play in the secondary.
You mentioned like managing expectations. How about for Skylar Bell, new receiver for the Bills, taking the 4th round, a guy that I know you liked, I liked as an idea. What is a proper expectation to have for his role in this offense in year 1?
It's tricky to know. I love the skill set. I love the 3-level ability, the yards after catch. I think there is verticality. Like, there's a lot to like about Skylar Bell, but what's the role look like initially, where I think there's a pretty clear top 3 in DJ Moore, Khalil Shakir, and Dalton Kincaid. You still have Dawson Knox. There's the Keon Coleman factor. There's Josh Palmer. There's running backs that are going to get the football in the passing game. What's his path to, eating into the target share? You wish that he was a punt returner, right? I feel like that would really kind of bring together, his role and projection and getting a jersey on game day. I think he's unique enough of a skill set that there's going to be opportunity for him. Like, he's different than what the Bills have elsewhere in their pass catchers. But if we're being honest, like, there's probably quite a few players ahead of him right now. But kind of piggybacking off of the point that you made with this receiver thing, is it's like, it's not necessarily that right now he needs to come in and get 75 targets. It's that as this moves along, he's in the pipeline, and the Bills are no longer going to be in a position where they have to pay that mid-level contract for a receiver, because now he's onboarding, and when the opportunity knocks, he should be in position to claim more and more. So I think it might be a little gradual, maybe a little Khalil Shakir-like, where it's quiet, and then later in the season it picks up, and year 2, it really emerges, and by year 3, you're like, wow, this is a really important part of this passing game. I could see a similar arc for Skylar Bell.
How about the tackle they take in the 4th round? There could be potential for him at left guard, and that job is the only one on the offensive line really available. Whether it's swing tackle or moving him inside, it's another position that, when it happened at the moment, I think a lot of Bills fans were a little bit surprised. So there's how it fits in short term, and then there's also, like, is there writing on the wall here about Deion Dawkins' future?
Yeah, I think it gives the Bills a player that helps with a number of outcomes. First of all, solidifying the tackle depth of Ryan Vandemark no longer in the mix. And so with Tylen Grable and Jude Bowery, all right, you got some players now at tackle that you feel good about. But, there is the immediate left guard thing that feels like it's Alec Anderson versus Austin Corbett right now. But the guy with the most ceiling is definitely Bowery at left guard. And does he prove right away that he can be the left guard? I mean, that'll play itself out, but I think it's worth considering. But I think about 2027, where all of the guards are expiring contracts, right? Osiris Torrance, and then whoever it is between Anderson and Corbett, those guys are all up after the season. So you have a player now that could factor into the mix there at guard. And, if the Bills do want to preserve the opportunity to get out of the Dawkins deal, their chance to do it is after this season. And if they like what they see from Bowery or Grable, right, that's going to give you what you're going to need to know about the succession plan. So I think he gives them an option for a couple of different spots, and that's really useful. And in a way, it's kind of like the receiver conversation where you got someone in the pipeline that's ready to go. It's going to save you from having to chase a big dollar free agent signing or force yourself into using a high pick to kind of fill the hole.
We get to a point here in the offseason now where it's the second wave of free agency. Is there anybody top of mind for you? I brought up yesterday with Sal, I brought up the idea of Von Miller, who had 9 sacks last year, and if they wanted a designated pass rusher, you've got a relationship, he might be someone that would be eager to come back. Is there any spot that you're watching for this second wave where you'd like to see them potentially add?
I think the spot for me is inside linebacker. Terrell Bernard, Dorian Williams, your projected starters, and then it's Caleb Elarmzor and Joe Andreessen. I feel like there's just room to upgrade that, and there's players out there, whether that's Bobby Wagner, Jermaine Pratt, Bobby Okereke, Shaq Thompson. I think bringing in one of those 4 players would be ideal. That's the spot. Like, for as much as we've talked about corner, Beans talked about corner being stressed with tapping into the depth. The same has been true at linebacker. Last year, Thompson was banged up at times. Bernard was banged up at times. Dorian Williams played through things. Milano, that's been a sore spot too. And I think their depth is pretty concerning. So bringing in one of those guys would make a ton of sense to me. Even if it is Terrell Bernard and Dorian Williams as a starter, I'd like to have a little bit more there for a hedge against the inevitable attrition that comes and has come at the linebacker position.
Joe Marino of the Locked On Bills podcast joining us on the Wester Hotline. And then finally, I guess we're not surprised to find out they drafted a punter. I should get back to the draft. There's going to be a puntapalooza here. Mitch Wishnowsky against the new guy. But, something that it's another one of these cost-controlled spots where when you're up against the cap like the Bills are, having a rookie do it can help quite a bit.
No doubt. A 4-year cost-control deal, a guy that was terrific with hang time this past season at Florida. He punted for several seasons at Michigan, which I think that's helpful with, punting in the cold that's going to have to happen in Buffalo. But I thought Wishnowsky did a good job last year. And if he's the punter, that's great. But, it's a 1-year, $1.475 million deal with $150K guaranteed. It's not a lock based on that contract that it's going to be his job. And so a good battle ahead, and maybe, just maybe, this can be your cost-controlled long-term answer that the Bills haven't had since Brian Moorman finished playing in Buffalo back in 2012.
Joe Marino, Locked On Bills podcast. Thanks, Joe. We'll talk next week.
All right, Jeremy. Thank you.
All right. Find everything Joe does at thejoemarino.com on the Bills draft. There's a couple stories in the NFL that are kind of funny today. Real quickly, we'll go back to Sabres in a moment here, but the Ravens signed Diego Pavia to a 3-year deal, undrafted free agent, and it's the first time in NFL history you've seen that signing referred to as a 3-year deal, which is like the biggest favor to an agent of all time.
Yeah, is that not just an entry-level deal?
It's just an entry-level deal.
Jeez.
For whatever reason, they're really trying to say that he signed like a 3-year deal. And it's never happened before that it's been referred to like that or whatever. Just you sign an entry-level deal and see if you make it through camp. Anyway.
That's insane.
It's kind of funny.
That's ridiculous.
Anyway, back to the Sabres. The unique challenge of everybody being sad about a game that didn't end your season, so nobody's getting fired and nothing's over. Like, what are we going to do about it? We're going to wait 3 days and then play Boston.
Pretty
3
much.
days.
I
The
know,
extra game in between.
Yeah.
Extra day is not fun. I really wish that was not in there.
The anticipation's just going to eat away. I can't.
It's going to be stress. Whatever. They went to Boston, tied 1-1, and came away with 2 wins.
Yeah.
Now they're going up there up 3-2. Just get one more. Win 3 games in Boston. The road team in this series has been, a lot of fans going home unhappy in this series.
True.
The good news is, if you went to game 2 and that was the only game you went to, like that was me, feeling less jinxy now that they lost another one.
For sure.
It would have been bedlam had somebody scored that goal. A home series clincher in overtime. Like, that's the stuff you dream about.
Yeah.
That's the scenario, whether you're a kid playing, thinking about scoring that goal, or even just a fan in the intermission between the third and the overtime thinking, who's it going to be?
Right. Yeah, I mean, there were so many, and there were a couple of really good chances, too. Tuck had a good chance.
Yeah.
Thompson had a chance.
I
Zucker
thought
had one, too.
I thought throughout the game, Lyon made some pretty big saves.
Yes, I
he
agree.
made one where he came out and challenged and like shrugged the shoulder on.
Yes, I think that was Zaka.
Yeah,
on the power play. I know the exact save you're talking about. It was a really good job
because he was deep in his net, looking to his left, and he turns and comes out, and he charged that dude.
Yes, it was a great read to recognize he's not going to do anything other than blast this at the net. So I can try and cut down this angle as much as possible. And he did that earlier in the game too. On I think it was Pasternak, right off of a face-off win, to start a power play. Pasternak got a really good look, and Lyon was like a foot and a half out of his crease, and it just hit him in the shoulder and went up out of play. I think that's huge.
803-0550. Kevin in Youngstown. Kevin, good morning.
Yeah, hi. I was just going to say that, when this is a kind of a positive a look at one of the players. When Krebs first got here, I just thought, well, there's the scrappy guy that will take on anybody, and it was kind of a little embarrassing that our guy that would fight was 120 pounds dripping wet. But there was times yesterday in that game where his skating, one shift was actually unbelievable of how he kept it in play. I mean, he went around, he penetrated, he didn't get it, he twirled around that, then he went around the net again. And I do want to say that I noticed that. But to me, and it's not, I'm not embittered, but I would say if I had to put a GOAT for the game, I would say collectively all players that had maybe 3 face-offs and lost more than 50%, because there was one time where they said, well, the Sabres won 51% of the face-off. Well, so that's 50-50 in the first period. They're down to 41%. And after that, they literally didn't – I rarely saw them win a face-off. And in a game like where Swayman's only going to give up at the most, maybe 2, possibly 3, but 2, it's so crucial. It's the possession of the puck. And that is my comment. I thought that their face-offs kind of lost them the game, in my opinion. So
thanks, Kevin. Let me pull up the box score and what the face-off numbers ended at. It was 60-40 Boston. 34 out of 57 went to Boston. They have been getting killed in the face-off circle, and I don't know if it's directly related to Carrick being gone. Carrick is a guy they got for this, but I feel I definitely know that it feels like they lose every face-off. And there was one time in game 2 where it was 20-3.
Yeah, they were getting killed.
It's not gone well in the face-off circle for this team. What was the other thing you mentioned early on? I was going to get to something. Oh, Krebs. I completely agree on Krebs. I mean, last night during the game, I didn't, tweet that many things. I'm just kind of hunkered down watching this game. And one of the things I wrote, which was probably after the shift you're referring to, was I'm feeling feelings about Krebs I never dreamed of.
Yeah.
When he is active, playing well, he's engaged in a lot of ways. Like, there's a lot of skill in there, and he has had, his road to finding a spot on the team went from being, the top prospect in the Eichel trade to being willing to be a fourth-line center for them and being a little psycho who will get in the mix, even though, like you said, he's not the biggest guy. And then when he goes up at the top line, he's been producing in this series.
Yeah.
And scored important goals for them. So, yeah, I think with Krebs, you just have a nice, middle six probably guy that can go up and down the lineup. And I thought he was really dynamic yesterday.
Yeah, he was awesome. I think he is a guy that is – the Sabres have a lot of these guys that are kind of like heartbeat sort of drivers. I think of Doan, Benson are guys like this too that every shift they go out there, they're just going to work. And they've got more skill than a guy that has that sort of engine normally does. I mean, Krebs was a first-round pick in Vegas. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's a player that came into the league with a certain, offensive pedigree And that just hasn't shown up yet. And now, like, I think he's getting the opportunity to play with players that are bringing that out of him. And I think he's, I think you're working on that more if you're in the role he's in. Like when he's playing the role of being a fourth line grinder guy, he's not thinking about like, well, I got to make sure I'm really on point with my, with my snappy passing and playmaking ability. Like, because I'm going to be passing the puck to Jordan Greenway and nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
But now he's playing with Tage Thompson every night, and he goes, I should probably, make sure I'm sharp here. And that's great. And he's got the ability to do that. I all year was kind of, is that really going to work? And, like, I'll leave my crow. He has been great up there. And I'm super happy about it because it lets them – it adds to the thing that we keep coming back to in depth. Like, it's just another guy that can play a role for you really anywhere.
803-0550 and 1-888-550-2550 to join us. Jeremy and Joe. Joe's out, though. Joe's out for a while after the birth of his daughter, so we congratulate him. We'll keep you updated on, his timeline to come back, but getting some much-needed time away. The Sabres lose in Game 5 at home in overtime. A tough twist of fate. Next up, Game 6 in Boston Friday, 7:30, and a potential Game 7 Sunday, time to be determined. One of those, by the way, I'll just say this, potentially Game 7. If Tampa, Montreal, and Boston, Buffalo both go to Game 7, one of those will be like a 4 o'clock start, will it not? 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock? There could be 3 Game 7s on Sunday, 3 different series if they go 7, make it to Sunday. One is Vegas, Utah. That's a late game. And then one of those is in Tampa. One of those is in Buffalo if those series go 7. So somebody would be afternoon. Just filing that away myself for potentially planning for Sunday. Just going to go ahead and put my life on hold for that day until we find out what happens on Friday night. 803-0550 to join us. Jeremy and Joe here on WGR. It's the second straight year where the Bills focus really, I think, on defense primarily, and we're kind of waiting to see this whole thing put together. I asked Brandon Bean on Monday about it, like how it is building a defense that kind of only exists on paper and the challenge that they might have trying to figure each guy's role while changing those roles. And what do you think we've learned about what they intend to do on defense based on how they've spent this offseason?
Well, it's been a lot of transition defensively over the last few years, and so it's really fun to kind of consider what this defense is going to look like. But the two prevailing thoughts for me on what these picks tell us about what this defense is going to look like is, number one, while they are switching to a 3-4 defense, we need to disassociate our minds from it being a classic two-gapping 3-4 defense. You think about those Patriots defenses that had Vince Wilfork in the middle and Hall of Famer and Richard Seymour at the 5 technique, and then Ty Warren's the other one. And it's like, these are fire hydrant, stationary guys that are going to lock, peek, shed, own that space. I don't think that's what the Bills are going to do. I think this is going to be a movement-based 3-4 front where it's not stationary two-gappers. It's defensive linemen that are going to have pre-snap shifts. They're going to slant. They're going to stunt to change gaps. They're going to do all those movement types things to disrupt the blocking schemes and create some chaos and create some confusion. And I mean, you just look at the makeup of the room. There is not a single player in this mix that projects as a two-gapping style player. They're all athletic players with, some of them with very good length, where I think it's going to be movement-based. And so, we kind of went into this thinking, oh, my goodness, 3-4, got to find a nose tackle, got to find a 5-tech that can really tie the scheme together. But they continue to tell us through their personnel moves that that's not what they're looking for. So I think that's number one, is calibrating my expectations for what's going to be asked of this front. And then the other thing is just that this this defense, when it comes to the secondary, is going to be pretty multiple. Obviously, I think Benford and Harrison will be your every down outside corners. TJ Gardner-Johnson and Bishop will be your every down safeties. But when they're in nickel and dime, 5 DBs, 6 DBs, which I think will be every bit of 60, 70% of the snaps, that group could look different. I think D. Alford will play a ton in the slot, but I think this is going to be a defense that plays the matchup. And so whenever the Bills were in nickel in the past under McDermott, it was, okay, Taron Johnson's on the field, that's it. Those are the 5 players that they would have. This will be matchup specific where it'll be a lot of D. Alford, but they have IGB, right, who I think can situationally play. In going back to Denver, they had a very defined corner situation, but they drafted Jahdae Barron in the first round, and he played situationally in the slot. He played situationally in dime packages on the second level. Jalen Kilgore, who they drafted in the 5th round, who's a height, weight, speed guy that can play in the slot and from depth at safety with ball skills. They have C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who's super versatile. And so I think we need to get excited about where the sub-package groupings can go and it being more matchup specific, which is a big shift. So those are my 2 big thoughts on what these picks tell us about the defense.
Look out, a pass ahead. Pasternak with a chance, scores! David Pasternak in overtime. And the Boston Bruins stay alive and send the series back to the Garden.
The series continues on. The Sabres fell 2-1 to the Bruins in overtime last night. They did break the nasty streak of no power play goals for real this time as Rasmus Dahlin scored the one and only goal. Alex Lyon allowed the 2 goals on 29 shots. Game 6 set for Friday at 7:30 in Boston. A win will still clinch for Buffalo. Other scores from last night: the Wild, they beat the Stars 4-2. The Oilers beat the Ducks 4-1. Both of those series are 3-2. Around the NFL, NFL Network's Ian Rappaport reports the Broncos quarterback, Bo Nix, underwent a successful and anticipated follow-up cleanup procedure on his ankle. ESPN's Adam Schefter believes the Eagles will receive a first-round pick for A.J. Brown from the Patriots when the trade, quote, comes together on June 1st. Schefter also reports the Steelers placed the rare right of first refusal tender on quarterback Aaron Rodgers. The Athletic's Zach Rosenblatt reports the Jets, they're hosting Russell Wilson on a visit and are considering him as an option to be Geno Smith's number 2. And Rams quarterback Ty Simpson said he had, quote, secret meetings with head coach Sean McVay ahead of the 2026 NFL Draft. Those are your Paddock Chevrolet sports headlines. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Joe Cali for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
Byram, tough defending Zaka there, kind of with his feet square. Big save by Lyon. Far circle shot. Lyon again at the far post with a stop.
Some of the Firth moments of the game. Sabres lose. Firth moments brought to you by Firth Jewelers for the moments in your life. Go forth to Firth. Jeremy and Joe. Joe's out on paternity leave, celebrating the birth of his daughter. So we say congrats, and we'll hear all about it when he comes back. Sabres lose, and just was looking into the advanced stats of the game, courtesy of Natural Stat Trick, because Noah Ostlund leaves the game. Lindy says it doesn't look good, and I kind of had the same thought a lot of you did, which is like losing Ostlund shakes up your lines, and you don't get a really good chance to see what he could do with that Benson-Doan line, like thrown in there with the two of them. That's gone really well. But Kozak up with them, it went fine. It went really well.
Yeah, that supports what I saw. I didn't think that he really hurt them.
No, if you want expected goal percentage for the three of them.
What was their expected goal share?
For Benson, expected goal share was 85%. For Doan, it was 84%, and for Kozak, it was 72%.
Yeah.
So here's a question. Maybe we'll ask Paul this. Like, Norris is available, right? All right. You wonder if Lindy should have played. By the way, Ostlund in game 2 and then Norris last night.
Right.
I mean, if you had Norris last night, it would have maybe been more seamless. That said, Norris with Benson and Doan, it was great at the end of the regular season. It did not look great in games 1 or 2.
No.
I wonder if when they roll out for game 6, Norris is on that line, but Lindy's got the emergency Kozak plan maybe. Like if he played well with them for a full game, basically, like Kozak played 17 minutes almost last night.
Yeah, he played a ton because he was shifting with those guys and the fourth line.
And those guys did not see a big drop-off in terms of puck possession. Like Doan shot attempts when he's on the ice were 20-4.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's a testament both to Doan and Benson's ability to just drive play.
Yeah.
Because they're just so rabid.
They're dogs.
And then also just I think that's good for Kozak to be able to keep up with those guys.
He's fast enough to keep up with them.
They play Benson and Doan both are not fast skaters, but they play fast. They play really fast. They make quick passes, quick moves, sort of identify and process very quickly, and to be able to keep up with that is good. I'm curious if we see the third line finally get shaken up a little bit, or the second. It depends on how you look at it. The McLeod with Zucker and why is it? I'm blanking again here. What am I doing? McLeod, Zucker, and Quinn. Thank you. Jeez. Those three guys have been nothing for me all series, really. Quinn has looked the most dangerous. McLeod,
if he's going to get himself into a spot to shoot, is going to pass.
Yeah.
He had a rough one last night. Right in front of Swayman by himself and, passed into traffic.
I mean, that line has been together for most of the entire season and has been good for most of the entire season, so I get it. But it might be time for that to be jumbled up a bit, and that might open up some opportunities to fit in, shift Benson, Doan. I think you want those two guys together, but see if somebody else wants to center them, if something else works there. Whatever. I think there's going to be a little bit of a shakeup happening here because I just, especially losing Ostlund and that Norris line not being as dominant as you would like it, with the addition of that McLeod line also struggling a bit.
Yeah.
I think it's time to maybe throw the thing in a blender a little.
803-0550. Jim in Buffalo. Jim, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. How you doing?
Excellent.
All right.
I mean, kind of not great, but fine.
Yeah, I mean, here's the deal, right? Is we knew it was going to be a tough series. UPL comes in, plays the first 2 games, Lions the next 3. What do you guys think about the goalie situation for Game 6 going into Boston? Stick with Lions?
That's what I would do.
Yeah, I'm right with you. I think that he has more playoff experience. I think he's more solidified in that. But honestly, last night, it really didn't rattle me that much because we knew they were going to come in here. Their backs were against the wall. We knew they were going to give it all. But let's be honest, that team is old. You got a bunch of old guys. They gave their all last night, and they spilt their tank. And I think we're going to go into Boston, and I think we're going to take it in Boston.
Thanks, Jim. I mean, they do have 2 days to rest if they, gave it their all. There's an extra day in between. So, I don't know. They gave it their all. The Sabres, I thought the Sabres were outplayed early, but mentioned this kind of earlier. Like the up and down of the game and the shot share, after Boston's last power play in the third period, it was the Sabres game. They just couldn't get one by Swayman. Honestly, what the third and overtime looked like? It looked like game one, where you're the better team and Pasternak's getting breakaways. And in game one, what happened? They stopped the breakaways. And in game 5, he scored on his breakaway. Now, it's a different goalie. If you're planning just for the breakaways, is UPL a better option? I don't know. It's like seeing the future. I don't have any sort of appetite to change Lyon. If he loses game 6 and gives up some bad ones, I don't know. Like, I almost want to buy – I know you don't want to do this by rule, but Lyon has given up 1 goal in 60 minutes of 3 consecutive starts. Like, that's good enough for me. Luukkonen gave up multiple goals in both of his starts. Like, I know it doesn't quite translate just to that. I also wonder if Lindy has a read on how the team plays in front of Lyon versus in front of Luukkonen. He talks about the attitude that Lyon plays with. I wouldn't make a change. I don't have much of an appetite for it.
No, I would be surprised if you see it happen. The only way I could get there mentally, or could see the coaching staff getting there mentally, is they truly think that these guys are better when they are not playing every game. If they think that Lyon and Luukkonen both can perform and give them minutes, then this is the scenario where you go back to Luukkonen, and because Lyon lost. That's what you did after Luukkonen lost. He lost the game. You put Lyon in. And now, if that's going to be your philosophy where you want to use both guys, this would be the spot to do it. I would not, because for the same reasons you just, mentioned. I think Lyon's been great, and you don't want to, maybe shake the boat anymore there. But I think that the way they've talked about the 2-goalie rotation makes you think that they would be at least curious about, all right, do we think that it would be better to have fresh Luukkonen in here? Do we trust him? And I still, like I just said, I wouldn't do it, but there could be a way you could get there, I think. More than if you're in another sort of situation where it's, well, there's a starter and a backup, and that's the way it's been all year. This is not that. This is both these guys have played, and both these guys have played in the playoffs, and we just got to figure out which guy gives us the best chance to win.
803-0550. When we return, quick thing looking back at the draft. There's a story about a team trading in front of the Bills and feeling like they snagged the guy the Bills wanted in the first round. We'll get to that next.
For him, it's easy.
And last night was the first night I thought, you mentioned that Tage chance, where I thought, it is time for Tage to score again.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm going to ask Paul
Jeremy
today,
White here for
so the lineup
Russell
today, we got Paul
Street
at 8,
Shrub
we've got Marty Baron at 9. Joe Marino talks Bills draft class with us at 7 o'clock too, so we'll mix in some other stuff. But one thing I thought about this game and asking Paul at 8 o'clock is the whole your best players have to be your best players, and are the Sabres' best players being their best players still? In the first game of the series, that was the story. Thompson lifts them. But since then, now what?
I mean, you got Dahlin with a goal last night, which was, I think, big for him to get off the schneid.
Now, see, I didn't celebrate that as a power play goal because I was told to think of the other one like a power play goal.
Right.
So that
right.
No, I'm kidding, of course. Yeah.
But I think that was nice, but you just, I think Thompson's got to make an impression on more than one game in the series. I thought he wasn't bad necessarily in either game in Boston.
No,
nobody was really good in game 2.
Yeah, game 4, everybody was fine.
Right, but I just think, that's a guy you need in a game that's that tight. Make a play.
Yeah.
Make something happen here. And
I thought he was engaged. I thought it was just not working for him.
Exactly. Like there was one where I got into the slot with a really good look at the net and tried to pass it off, and that was one where I thought, man, shoot that puck. You're Tage Thompson. You got a chance here. Take that over. And I maybe would have liked to see that a little bit. And I mean the best players, right? What happened last night for Boston? Pastrnak made a play, an incredible play with wearing Samuelson as a cape, gets around Lyon and wins the game for him. it's easy to say you would have liked your guy to do the same thing for you at some point, but I think they had the chances to.
Yep.
And so I think you gotta want a little more out of that.
When you have, like, the moment at home, next goal wins, and if it's our guys, it's the next round, Win a period, win a round. Score a goal, win a round. And instead, back to Boston, I think a lot of Sabres fans, of course, they'll talk about, are you nervous? Are you worried? The Bruins still have to win 2 more. And the Sabres have been the better team throughout the series. But if the game looks like last night's game, maybe it feels like 2 coin tosses because – well, whatever. The games could go the other way, too, where the Sabres look like the better team and Boston can still win. We've got road teams winning 4 out of 5 in this series. Only game 1. It was almost all 5 games were won by the road team. And the Noah Ostlund news is not good. That doesn't look good. That's got me much more nervous than the loss.
Agreed.
Not supposed to be where Noah Ostlund is like the glue that holds it together, but since they put him in the lineup, they looked better. Power play looked better. Lots of things looked better. So, I don't know. What do we do about it? What do we do with it? Process it with me. 803-0550.
I think the thing that you could sort of lean on, even though, last night did not go the way you wanted it to, I thought late in the third and through most of the overtime,
dominant.
They deserved
absolutely
the win.
Yeah.
Like they were all over the Bruins. Swayman made a save on Thompson off a pass from Krebs that was absurd with only a few minutes left that I thought was like, all right, well, that was it. You didn't score there. You're probably not beating this guy tonight. And he's stealing his team another game. That's what he does. And he was stellar again last night. And I thought he was the difference. Like those saves he made late in the third, and then early in overtime, all the way up until Pastrnak gets his breakaway, I thought were huge. I thought the Sabres generated enough that they, would have liked to have converted on one of those chances, but, just didn't have it in the middle sort of portion of the game, and it just was too much time that slipped away from them.
Yep.
Getting Omar Cooper and getting the 5th-year option on him that Muji talked about, and only having to trade a 5th-round comp pick to move up from 33 to get to 30, I thought that was the best move of the night for the Jets, and it kind of solidified my feeling that night 1 was a major success for this team.
Well, the reason why they traded up is because they thought Buffalo was going to take Cooper at 31. And so they anticipated that was their intel. And it's funny how as soon as they traded up and took him, Buffalo traded out.
Yep.
Buffalo trades out with Tennessee. And so that's why the Jets did the Cooper deal.
Rich Cimini reporting that the Jets jumped in front of the Bills for Omar Cooper Jr. And the Bills, of course, traded down 3 times in the first round. If we're looking at the landscape of the first round and the trades down and what happened, there was the report in Cleveland either the Bills are great at throwing smoke screens or the intel is right, and, ultimately you decide what matters to you. In Cleveland, Jordan Reed reported the Bills tried to get up for Casey Concepcion, but didn't. Here's New York. Rich Cimini reporting that had the Bills stayed at 31, if the Jets didn't jump in front of them, that the Bills were eyeing Omar Cooper. And, do you buy that? That the Bills might have taken Omar Cooper at 31, but the Jets jumped in front of them and took Cooper. And my answer is definitely. I definitely buy that. Now, they traded down, so they were willing to give up control of the board. But, yeah, I believe that. It doesn't mean that the Bills have to be screwed by it or anything like that. Like, the thing about trading down is I now get to say that every single player that you picked near that spot you were willing to lose. And you do it because you have tiers, right? You do it because you might have 6 players you think are graded about the same. The Bills later on did use a pick on receiver, so they were willing to add to their room. And, maybe if the Jets don't trade up there, they take Cooper at 31. They don't trade down out of the first round. Maybe not. But I don't think it's something I could just dismiss. I also don't think it means the Jets, well, whatever. If Cooper ends up great, then good for the Jets. But I don't think it has to mean the Bills got screwed over. When you trade down, you do it with knowledge that someone could come up and jump in front of you. And the later stages of the first round, it was tons of trades. Trades up, trades down. But the one thing about Omar Cooper Jr., I thought through this whole process, and I tweeted it several times, I said it on the air, I was convinced that the Bills would love this player's skill set. So maybe that's another reason that I find it very believable. The Jets thought the Bills were going to take him. Doesn't mean it's true, but that's what the Jets thought, so they moved up 2 spots and snagged him. So, or 2 or 3 spots, whatever. But yeah, I think it's believable. I also don't think it has to be, any sort of major problem necessarily. 803-0550, 1-888-550-2550. They did meet with Cooper at the Combine, but no private workout for him, I don't think. Anyway, he goes to the Jets, who now have a glut of weapons, the Jets do. They have a lot of good players to catch passes from Geno Smith. 803-0550 and 1-888-550-2550 to join us. Jeremy and Joe. No Joe today. Could be Game 7 Sunday. We're going to have to talk about potential Game 7s during this week because we got to have Joe Kelly draft another drum banger for the next home game. Maybe that ends up being Game 1 against, Tampa or Montreal. 3-2. All series that went last night are now at 3-2. Anaheim had a chance to advance. They lost to Edmonton. So that series 3-2. Dallas and Minnesota 3-2. Tonight after Tampa Montreal, that series will be 3-2. It's tied 2-2 right now. Stinks losing Game 5 on home ice. Anyway, we saw the Blade Gang. They were out there full force. How many people are in the Blade Gang?
It's growing, I feel like.
It feels like it's growing.
I think that's right. I think there are members being added by the day.
Is this a lawless place? If I just show up in rollerblades and a helmet, can I get entry to wherever they go also?
It's a good question.
I'm with the band.
I'm with them. Yeah.
I'm with them.
Yeah. The Montreal tried it. A couple fans showed up in rollerblades and stuff, too. They're trying to steal the bit.
They totally did. Mm-hmm. Did you see this?
I did not see that.
There was a crew of Montreal fans.
Oh, wow.
That after the after the Blade Gang blew up, put the gear on and wore Habs jerseys and all the gear and skated to the game.
Cease and desist, Montreal.
100%.
Cease and desist. Get out of here.
However, I do think it's a pretty good compliment that Montreal fans are copying the Sabres because if there is a fan base in the NHL,
that's pretty cool. Yeah,
should be respected.
Imitation's a form of flattery. You're right.
I just want to point out: have you seen Matthew Tkachuk? Matthew Tkachuk cannot stop talking about Buffalo.
I know.
Is he flirting with us? I think he might be. He did a whole segment. He did a whole segment on the Blade Gang. Just saying. I'm just saying.
Is it not maybe a little bit like whenever Brad Marchand goes to Toronto, he talks about how great the team is, and it's like, but these guys.
No, I don't think it's like that. I think it's just a little small, add another brick to the wall of changing what players think about this place.
Maybe his younger brother has some interest.
Maybe he's available too.
That's the
He
thing.
did not have a good playoff series for Ottawa. All right, 803-0550. Paul Hamilton on the other side to recap the Sabres' loss in Game 5, 2-1 in overtime. David Pastrnak, the winner. It's the second straight year where the Bills focus really, I think, on defense primarily. And we're kind of waiting to see this whole thing put together. I asked Brandon Bean on Monday about it, like how it is building a defense that kind of only exists on paper and the challenge that they might have trying to figure each guy's role while changing those roles. And what do you think we've learned about what they intend to do on defense based on how they've spent this offseason?
Well, it's been a lot of transition defensively over the last few years, and so it's really fun to kind of consider what this defense is going to look like. But the two prevailing thoughts for me on what these picks tell us about what this defense is going to look like is, number one, while they are switching to a 3-4 defense, we need to disassociate our minds from it being a classic two-gapping 3-4 defense. You think about those Patriots defenses that had Vince Wilfork in the middle and Hall of Famer and Richard Seymour at the 5 technique, and then Ty Warren's the other one. And it's like, these are fire hydrant, stationary guys that are going to lock, peek, shed, own that space. I don't think that's what the Bills are going to do. I think this is going to be a movement-based 3-4 front where it's not stationary two-gappers. It's defensive linemen that are going to have pre-snap shifts. They're going to slant. They're going to stunt to change gaps. They're going to do all those movement types things to disrupt the blocking schemes and create some chaos and create some confusion. And I mean, you just look at the makeup of the room. There is not a single player in this mix that projects as a two-gapping style player. They're all athletic players with, some of them with very good length, where I think it's going to be movement-based. And so, we kind of went into this thinking, oh, my goodness, 3-4, got to find a nose tackle, got to find a 5-tech that can really tie the scheme together. But they continue to tell us through their personnel moves that that's not what they're looking for. So I think that's number one, is calibrating my expectations for what's going to be asked of this front. And then the other thing is just that this defense, when it comes to the secondary, is going to be pretty multiple. Obviously, I think Benford and Harrison will be your every down outside corners. TJ Gardner-Johnson and Bishop will be your every down safeties. But when they're in nickel and dime, 5 DBs, 6 DBs, which I think will be every bit of 60, 70% of the snaps, that group could look different. I think D. Alford will play a ton in the slot, but I think this is going to be a defense that plays the matchup. And so whenever the Bills were in nickel in the past under McDermott, it was, okay, Taron Johnson's on the field, that's it. Like, those are the 5 players that they would have. This will be matchup specific, where it'll be a lot of D. Alford, but they have IGB, right, who I think can situationally play. In going back to Denver, they had a very defined corner situation, but they drafted Jahdae Barron in the first round, and he played situationally in the slot. He played situationally in dime packages on the second level. You have Jalen Kilgore, who they drafted in the 5th round, who's a height, weight, speed guy that can play in the slot and from depth at safety with ball skills. They have CJ Gardner-Johnson, who's super versatile. And so I think we need to get excited about where the sub-package groupings can go and it being more matchup specific, which is a big shift. So those are my 2 big thoughts on what these picks tell us about the defense.
Look out, a pass ahead. Pasternak with a chance, scores! David Pasternak in overtime. And the Boston Bruins stay alive and send the series back to the Garden.
The series continues on. The Sabres fell 2-1 to the Bruins in overtime last night. They did break the streak of no power play goals for real this time as Rasmus Dahlin scored the one and only goal. Alex Lyon allowed the 2 goals on 29 shots. Game 6 set for Friday at 7:30 in Boston. Win clinches for the Sabres still. Some other scores from the playoffs. The Wild, they beat the Stars 4-2, and the Oilers beat the Ducks 4-1. Looking around the NFL, NFL Network's Ian Rappaport reports Broncos quarterback Bo Nix underwent a successful and anticipated follow-up cleanup procedure on his ankle. ESPN's Adam Schefter believes the Eagles will receive a first-round pick for A.J. Brown from the Patriots when the trade, quote, comes together on June 1st. Schefter also reports the Steelers placed the rare right of first refusal tender on quarterback Aaron Rodgers, and the Athletics' Zach Rosenblatt reports the Jets are hosting Russell Wilson on a visit and are considering him as an option to be Geno Smith's number 2 quarterback. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Joe Cali for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
All right, I've a stat of the day. I'm just going to bring up the Paul here. But, we could go to Game 7. I don't think it will, but if we could. I just kind of noted this. Maybe you all out there knew this. Paul, maybe you knew this as well. There's only one team in NHL history that has never won a Game 7. Like Columbus and Utah have never played in a Game 7. Only one franchise has played in Game 7 and had no Game 7 wins. Do you know who that is, Paul?
It's not this one, is it?
No, it's not this one. Why is it not this one?
Derek Plant, maybe?
Scored against?
Ottawa?
Ottawa's the team. Turns out that goal is the difference between Buffalo or Ottawa having never won a Game 7 because that's the only Game 7 win for the Sabres. So there's your stat of the day. Anyway, Paul, we're hoping it doesn't go to Game 7. People are mad.
Yeah, it could.
People are mad at me for talking about the concept of the Game 7. But we have 3 days to get to Game 6, and we're not on Saturday. So, whatever. We'll get there. Good morning, Paul. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Paul's appearance brought to you by Raylax Honda. Raylax, we got this, Paul, of course, at the KeyBank Center last night for Game 5, the loss for the Buffalo Sabres in overtime. And, Paul, I thought, as the game went along, the Sabres looked like the better team in the second half of the game. Third period and overtime, I was waiting for it. And in inevitability, they were going to get one. And then Pasternak gets behind them. Kind of followed a lot of the script that we saw in Game 1. Game 1, I thought the Sabres were better, and Pasternak got behind them. This time he scores, and Boston steals the game late.
Yeah, this certainly wasn't like Game 2 that Boston won. This game was there for either team to win. There were times Boston had the better of the play. There were times Buffalo had the better of the play. And Jason Zucker, I couldn't believe the puck didn't go in the net because I have an angle, it's kind of same angle he's looking at the net from where I sit in the press box, and he had at least half the net to shoot at. And he doesn't miss that very often. I'm 99 times out of 100 he's going to score there. What I didn't realize until he said after the game, the puck hit Jack Quinn. And he said, yeah, I thought it was going in too. He said, I thought I had scored. And he said his shot hit Jack Quinn and it didn't go in. And that's kind of the luck Zucker has had in this play. He doesn't have a goal, but think of how many times his shots, if it skates, sticks, because he's been in tight, but he's hit goalies, he's hit sticks, he's hit skates, and things just aren't going in for him. So the Sabres had some opportunities in the third period to win it. They had some opportunities in overtime to win it, and including right before the goal. They had McLeod, he was gone. And the puck he didn't make it there. Pasternak came off the bench. So it wasn't even like earlier in the series where he was just getting behind the defense. He came off the bench and then got behind the defense and did a great job staying onside, which most players probably wouldn't have. And, just made a great move. He's a great goal scorer. Yep. And Lyon has stopped him in this series on breakaways, a couple of them. But, he's a great goal scorer, and I just don't think you're going to stop him every time.
Right. It's a great goal for him and sends the series back to Boston. You mentioned the game was there for both teams in long stretches. I did think it was definitely Boston's best game. They had, to me, the most complete game they've had in this series. Game 2 they won by a big number, and that to me was more like the Sabres, just whenever there's a bad bounce mixed in there and maybe a bad goal. But this time, I thought Boston was obviously provably desperate, and they looked like they played desperate.
No, they played much, much better than they played in the last game. And, I think the Sabres played better in this one than they played in the first Boston win. I thought that was a pretty dominant Boston win. I thought they got in on the Sabres, and the Sabres defense. I remember talking to Bo Byram. He admitted it that the Boston Bruins got in fast. They were using their physicality, and they basically were wearing the Sabres defense down by hemming them in and causing turnovers. Which, yeah, they did a little of that last night at times, but it wasn't a consistent thing. Now, the Buffalo at the end of the first period had 2 or 3 more hits than the Bruins did, and by the end of the game, the Bruins had severely out-hit the Sabres. So Boston had upped its physical game, I think. But I don't think in this game they tired the Sabres out or anything like that because, as you mentioned, the Sabres had a pushback in the second half of the game. And then had opportunities of their own that Swayman just was great on. Really, the goaltender should have been the top 2 stars in this game.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. And one of them didn't even get a star. I mean, yeah, Pasternak got the winner, but did you really notice him other than that? I mean, if you're picking stars of the game, he wasn't a star of the game. He just made a good play at the end. The goaltenders, I thought, both made some good saves, when they had to and were there for their team. And it wasn't a horrible game by any means, and certainly was there for either team to win it.
Paul, while we're on the goaltender, we've had a couple calls today. It's just how it works when you've got 2 goaltenders that tend to alternate back and forth. I think we both said I don't see any reason to switch back to UPL or change course or start alternating. Do you? Would you just stick with Lyon because he's been sharp?
To me, Lyon was the second star of the game. I think Swayman, I would have picked him first and Lyon second. I mean. So no, I wouldn't even be considering it. I mean, he was fine. I mean, that's one of the best goal scorers in the league who beat him on a breakaway. And as I mentioned, Lyon had stopped him on a couple of breakaways in the series. And the other goal was, it was the first 2 shots of the period for Boston. He made the first save, and then the puck came out in front, and Zucker was right there to clear it, but he kind of dove forward and tried to clear it with his hand, and he put it right back on Lindholm's stick, right in the slot. Well, I'm not blaming Lyon on that one either. So, no, I have no problem with the way Lyon played in that game.
Paul Hamilton joining us on the Western Hotline. Paul, let's get to the injury report brought to you by Hamburg Overhead Doors. Your garage door injured, call the experts at Hamburg Overhead Door to get your door healthy again. Of course, Noah Ostlund is the story here. He leaves the game, comes back to the bench, and tries to give it a go, and then leaves again. And Lindy said it doesn't look good. So you think we find out today? I mean, in your experience, I know you can't look at the MRIs or whatever's happening here, but when a guy has that, is the comeback and try a good sign to you, or do you feel like this will be week to week potentially for Ostlund?
Well, yeah, no, sometimes it is a good sign, but when the head coach afterwards says it doesn't look good, and it didn't, just watching it happen, it didn't look good. The Bruin just accidentally fell on him and fell on his leg. I don't know if we're talking knee,
ankle sprain,
ankle, knee, something like that.
Yeah.
Somewhere there. And so, but when the head coach says it doesn't look good, I would be preparing to see Josh Norris back in the lineup.
Yeah. You think Norris should have been in the lineup anyway?
No. And I know it put them short. Kozak played a lot on lines that he wouldn't be normally on or used to. It's not what his role is. You certainly get the hustle and everything out of him, but he's not a top 6 forward.
Yep.
And, I think it was definitely a factor in the game that Ostlund wasn't there, and the Sabres really didn't have anybody to put in there. But it wouldn't have made sense to put him out there with Greenway and Mallenstein. And it wouldn't have made sense to pull Ostlund off a line he was performing very well on. So, no, I don't, even though I think it was a factor in the game. It just, I I would have done the same thing. I would have had Norris in a situation where team played really, really well in Boston, and you're just kind of in a wait your turn situation.
Are you thinking with Norris returning maybe like, again, he plays in game 1, he plays in game – no, he didn't play in game 2, right? Wait, help me out here. He did play in game 2 because Ostlund came back in game 3.
Yeah.
Game 1 and game 2, the secondary scoring for the Sabres, those two lines, like the Benson-Doan line, to me, it has woken up since he left it. And I wonder if maybe that's those two players finding their game as well and plugging Norris right back in. You think you'll kind of get the best of it? You got any concern about him going back with those two?
Depends how healthy he is. I'm thinking, and, he wasn't going to give any indication yesterday. Of course not. It's the playoffs. I got the answers I totally expected from him, which were none, other than he felt good on the ice for practice. But if I'm wondering if he's been hurt the whole series because he's kind of played like it, and Ostlund was an upgrade. So maybe this time off a little bit has him back to being Josh Norris. And you're getting that player back instead of maybe the player who possibly could have been playing injured.
Yeah. Paul Hamilton joining us. His appearance brought to you by Raylax Honda. Raylax, we got this. All right, Paul, on to the top line. Tage Thompson scores a pair of goals and kind of lifts the Sabres out of the fire in game 1. Last night I found myself thinking, I don't think he's playing badly, but I was looking at him, right? Like, best players be your best players.
Mm-hmm.
I was hoping for a Tage moment here in Game 5 and hopefully maybe Game 6. I feel like they're going to need their top players again. Dahlin gets the power play goal again. But what have you thought of Thompson, and how much do they need him right now?
I thought the same thing, and he has said it before and other times that he's paid to score goals, and he certainly took over Game 1. There's no question about that, where he scored a couple of goals, and that's it. I mean, he's had a couple of assists. Nice assist on the power play goal to get it over to Zucker and start that play, and if you recall in the third period, he had a golden opportunity. Swayman robbed him. I mean, it was the Krebs pass across the crease to Thompson for, I wouldn't want to say a tap-in because Swayman got there and made the save, but it was a great save by Swayman. And so, he did have an opportunity to score there. But other than that, I think through the game, he didn't have too many other opportunities to score. I think maybe sometimes he's trying to stick handle through the Bruins to get to a place where he can take his shot, and it's not working for him right now. Sometimes I've seen him pull that off very easily and get himself in scoring position and score. They need Tage Thompson. I think they need his scoring, just like Boston hadn't gotten anything out of Pasternak since the beginning of the series. They needed his scoring, and he came through in the overtime, but and I totally agree with you. He wasn't awful.
Yeah.
But you still need Tage Thompson to be scoring goals for you.
How about Tuck in that department as well?
Well, Tuck came in their leading scorer, 3 goals, 3 assists, 6 points in the first 4 games of the series. So I think Tuck has been coming through. He didn't get on the scoreboard in this particular game. He too had couple of opportunities, to score in that one. So it wasn't, again, I'm not sitting there, I'm thinking, boy, that line was awful.
Yeah.
But, they got in the offensive zone a couple times, but they didn't have a lot of scoring chances. And some of that, too, I think you got to give the Bruins credit for playing a much, much better game than they played in the first game. Or in the last game, I'm sorry, before that. I mean, the Bruins were mad. They, according to their coach, had a really angry practice, and were bound and determined for that not to happen again. The Bruins did not turn the puck over anywhere near as much as they did, but I don't think the Sabres were on them as closely as they were in the last game either. So, I give the Bruins a little bit of credit, too, for clamping down on that Thompson line last night.
I guess the question is, will the Sabres have that level of anger going to Game 6 to make sure that there is not a Game 7?
Well, history of this season has told us this kind of game does not bother them. Sometimes you lose. And I think they've always looked at it that way, that, you're not going to win every single game. Sometimes you lose. So you take a look at why, clean it up, and come back the next game. And I was kind of saying before the series that, you don't really need to break your neck to be home ice advantage because it's about 50-50. Well, look at this series.
Yeah.
The road team has won 4 out of 5 games. Well, Buffalo's on the road, so they can continue that, in Boston. And Buffalo's been a good road team this year. Lyon has been a good goaltender on the road. So there's no reason to think they're slumping or anything like that, especially since they could have won that game too. It wasn't like they were playing so poorly that it wasn't there for them. They were fine. It just didn't look like the game before, which I think spoiled everybody because they were just so good and the Bruins were just so bad.
Anything else jump out at you in this game, whether it was Boston's adjustment, what the Sabres can do to kind of, like you said, like clean up what happened in this one and get a bigger share of like whether it's expected goals or shot share. Like this was Boston's really best look at kind of going toe to toe.
Well, again, getting on their defenses, a little quicker than they did as they did in the game before. I didn't think Byram was as good in this game, but I thought Owen Power was fantastic. So when Byram did make the occasional boo-boo, Owen Power was right there for him. I thought Owen Powers played very well in the first 4 games. I thought he's even better in this game. I thought he really played well. Byram did turn the puck over a couple of times. It just wasn't I thought in the first 4 games, Bo Byram was their MVP if you take the goaltender out of the equation. And, the goaltender didn't play all 4 games. But I thought he was just phenomenal. And again, I'm going to say it again, he wasn't awful, but he just wasn't what he was in the first 4 games. So I thought Power was fantastic in that game.
Paul Hamilton on the Western Hotline on the Sabres and the Bruins. All right, Paul, so back to Boston. More chowder for you, right? Get some chowder.
Yep.
And then maybe home for Game 7 if the Bruins can extend the series, which will the last home Game 7, what is it? Is it at Derek Plant? Like what?
Yeah, I believe it is.
Yeah.
The Penguins, when Kasparaitis scored, was it Game 6 or 7?
I believe that's Game 6 and Game 7. Hold on, no, Game 6 was in
yeah,
Pittsburgh.
Straka, I think, won Game 6. That was Game 7 that they lost, but that would have been after Derek Plant, I believe, right?
Yeah, I think so.
It's hard when you make me think of history.
Yeah. I'm looking at the history Game 7s that were in Buffalo because there's only 2. And it was Marine Midland, it's Derek Plant 1997, and then Pittsburgh in Game 7 overtime in May of 2001. So that's the most recent one was Kasparaitis.
And he threw the puck over the glass and probably shouldn't even been out there to score the goal, but you know how that goes.
Overtime Game 7, May 10th, 2001. Let's hope we don't see Game 7, but we might. Thanks, Paul.
Take care, Jared.
Paul Hamilton on the Western Hotline. Yeah, I'm deep into the NHL.com website. The record site has all-time Game 7 standings. And I'm just, looking at this. Only 2 at home in history. 1-1 at home. 0-5 on the road. So the good news is not on the road. And if you look at win percentage, I'm looking at historical win percentages. The it does tilt towards home. The Rangers are 8-1 all-time on home Game 7s. That jumped out at me. I don't know. They don't keep Game 6 all-time standings at NHL.com, I don't think. Maybe they do. What?
Nothing. I was just
you did like a head nod.
I was telling him put me on. I'm going to come in here and, I don't know, just groan with you, I guess.
Right?
Man, that sucked.
803-0550. I mean, all right, silver lining. It's not much of a silver lining, but if they had won, sure, we'd be happy, but we'd have to wait a week until they play again.
That's what I said to Owen this morning. I was like, content-wise, this isn't the worst thing.
You get a game. You get a game on Friday night, and silver lining. Silver lining, you get another chance to send Boston fans home mad.
Yeah, that's good.
You get another shot at that.
That'd be cool. I wouldn't mind seeing the Boston fans relentlessly going.
That'd
be fine.
That's always good. Of all the fan bases you can send home unhappy, that's high on the list.
Yeah. I still think they're going to be totally fine. I would be almost surprised, right now as I'm sitting here, I think they're going to probably go into Boston on Friday and just wax them. I think they're comfortable on the road.
That's what they did in Philadelphia. 05-06 series when they win Game 5, take a 3-2 lead. They go to Philly, and they smoke Philly to end the series. Also, Sabres-Rangers, the game after Drury and Afinogenov score, that's 06-07, they go to New York, and they beat the Rangers like 7-4,
right?
Something like that. It's also another one where it's like easy peasy. Like they just scored a bunch of goals. They were fine.
Yeah. I think again, score the first goal. I know they did last night, and then don't suck after you score. That's kind of
advice
too.
Don't suck. Ron and Alden. Hey, Ron. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. I mean, it did suck we lost last night, and I'm glad they did not review that goal, only because first replay they showed us was, oh, yeah, he's onside. It would just been, I don't want that to happen to Buffalo. We're like, we scored, and then we got to wait, well, did we? I mean, I wish he was outside, but I'm glad they didn't flip the game and all that stuff. They just moved on with it, I'll move down with it. And that's why I hate the offside challenge, but I'm glad they didn't review it, and that's all I really got to say. And we will win Game 6. That's what we do. Have a great day, guys.
Thanks, Ron. Let's hope so. 7:30 Friday night. Make your weekend plans accordingly. And I wonder, I don't really know. So looking at the schedule, Montreal, Tampa, they play tonight. And then they would play Game 6 also on Friday. So, I'm just trying to figure out how many Game 7s there will be. Maybe there will be none. You know, if Philly, Pittsburgh, Minnesota, Dallas, and Anaheim, Edmonton go 7, those will all be on May 2nd. So you could have 3 Game 7s on May 2nd and 3 Game 7s on May 3rd. The other 2 series are over. Those are the 1 seeds. You had 2 sweeps, right? The top seeds swept. Everyone else is going 6 at least. So, it's look around. It's normal. The other 2 seed on the other side, that's Minnesota, Dallas. It's a pretty, it's a juggernaut matchup. But Philly was up 3-0. All of a sudden, Pittsburgh wins. It goes back for Game 7 in that series. The last Game 7, it is interesting. I'm saying those words a lot, and I'm not speaking them into existence. The Game 7 that won't happen, here, I'll say it that way. The last time they were in a Game 7, it's Philadelphia, and they get their doors blown off in Philly after losing here in overtime of Game 6. Maybe that's triggering, right? You're home, win the series with a goal. You don't. You lose the series. The time before that is Carolina, and Carolina feels like it wasn't even a real one because half the team was missing. 2006, you're down 4 defensemen and a bunch of, Connolly. It felt not real. Had guys making their NHL debut, right? Did Nathan Pace play, his second ever game? Anyway. Phil in Grand Island before the break. Phil, good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Good.
Good. Just wanted to thank you guys for kind of calling out Tage Thompson this morning. Watching the game last night, there was a point where I was like, is he even on the ice? A player like Tage Thompson has to be called out. He needs to step up in the big games. And last night was his point or his chance to do that for the Sabres, and I just think that he was a little bit non-existent. It's almost like he decided to take a night off. So I myself want to call out Tage Thompson. We need him to step up big time in Game 6 like he did in Game 1. Let's put this to bed and move on to the next series.
All right, Phil. I don't think we called him out, and I don't agree at all that he was absent or didn't show up. I just said, I kind of need him to score because he's your best player. But, I mean, I didn't think he was absent at all. He played 20 minutes, shot attempts 27-24 when he was on the ice, expected goals about even. I don't think he didn't show up. But you did. That's all at even strength, the power play finally scored, and, he wasn't, I guess, a big part of the – no, he was, sorry. Yeah. If you include power play, shots on goal when he was on the ice, it's 13-8. If you want to go shots attempts, it's 40-24. I just don't agree. So, needs to be called out. I'm not calling him out. I'm calling on him, I guess. Looking for a hero, you're going to need somebody to do something great. And he did something great in Game 1. If he can do something great, Like, I did have that thought in overtime last night. Like, whose name will be forever remembered? Like Derek Plant, like Jason Pominville, like somebody that scores a series winner like that, like Drury and Afinogenov with those winners against the Rangers, like Matthias Samuelsson for the opener in this series, scoring what goes as the go-ahead goal in that frenzy. Who's going to be the person who their name forever is remembered by fans? And, well, Pasternak for that game. We'll see if ends up being water under the bridge and they win the series. 803-0550, 1-888-550-2550. We'll check in with Marty Baron. He calls in at 9 o'clock, so give us a ring if you'd like. 803-0550, the phone number on WGR. It's the second straight year where the Bills focus really, I think, on defense primarily. And we're kind of waiting to see this whole thing put together. I asked Brandon
Jeremy
Bean
White here
Monday
from
about
Riverfront
it,
Auto
how
Sales.
1379
building
Niagara
a
Street in
kind of
Buffalo.
only
If you're in the market
exists
for
on
a premium
paper,
vehicle, Riverfront
and the
can help
challenge
you
that they
find
might
one.
have
You
trying
go
to
to Riverfront and
figure
say, here's what
each
I'm looking
guy's
for. Be as
role
specific as you want, and they
while
can track down a
changing
vehicle
those
for you.
roles.
You bring a
What do you
tax
think we've
refund,
learned
you
about
will
what they
double
intend
that
to
as
do
well.
on defense
Bring
based on
$500,
how
they'll match
they've-
it. Now you have $1,000.
how they've spent this offseason?
Bring $1,000, they'll match it.
Well,
Now
it's
you have
been a
$2,000
lot
to
of
purchase your
transition
next vehicle
defensively
at
over the
Riverfront
last
Auto
few
Sales.
years.
886-1626. So double your dollar towards your
consider
purchase.
what this defense
And
is
if you want to
gonna
sell
look
a
like.
vehicle
But the two
at
prevailing
Riverfront
thoughts
or
from
with
me,
the help of Riverfront,
on-
they'll make sure
on
you
what
get
these
more money for your
picks
sale.
tell
How?
us
By getting
about
in
what
front
this
of
defense is gonna
buyers
look like
in
is,
all
number
50
one,
states. So
while
get to
they are
Riverfront,
switching
call
to a
886-1626.
3-4 defense,
Sell with
we
Riverfront. There's
need
no
to
obligation. There's
disassociate
no
our
cost to
minds
you.
from it being
They'll
a-
help
a
you sell
classic
that vehicle.
two-gapping 3-4 defense. You
886-1626.
think about
That's
those Patriots
886-1626
defenses that
to
had
buy,
Vince
to
Wilfork in the
sell.
middle and
Your dollar goes
Hall of
farther with
Famer
the
and
help
Richard
of
Sherman,
Riverfront
or
Auto
it's not
Sales.
Richard Sherman, Richard Seymour at the 5
886-1626.
technique, and then Ty Warren's the other one, and it's like these are fire hydrant stationary guys that are going to lock, peak, shed, own that space. I don't think that's what the Bills are going to do. I think this is going to be a movement-based 3-4 front where it's not stationary two-gappers. It's defensive linemen that are going to have pre-snap shifts. They're going to slant. They're going to stunt to change gaps. They're going to do all those movement types things to disrupt the blocking schemes and create some chaos and create some confusion. And I mean, you just look at the makeup of the room. There is not a single player in this mix that projects as a two-gapping style player. They're all athletic players with, some of them with very good length where I think it's going to be movement-based. And so, we kind of went into this thinking, oh, my goodness, 3-4, got to find a nose tackle, got to find a 5-tech that can really tie the scheme together. But they continue to tell us through their personnel moves that that's not what they're looking for. So I think that's number one, is calibrating my expectations for what's going to be asked of this front. And then the other thing is just that this defense, when it comes to the secondary, is going to be pretty multiple. Obviously, I think Benford and Harrison will be your every down outside corners. TJ Gardner-Johnson and Bishop will be your every down safeties. But when they're in nickel and dime, 5 DBs, 6 DBs, which I think will be every bit of 60, 70% of the snaps, that group could look different. I think D. Alford will play a ton in the slot, but I think this is going to be a defense that plays the matchup. And so whenever the Bills were in nickel in the past under McDermott, it was, okay, Taron Johnson's on the field, that's it. Like, those are the 5 players that they would have. This will be matchup specific, where it'll be a lot of D. Alford, but they have IGB, right, who I think can situationally play. In going back to Denver, they had a very defined corner situation, but they drafted Jahdae Barron in the first round, and he played situationally in the slot. He played situationally in dime packages on the second level. You have Jalen Kilgore, who they drafted in the 5th round, who's a height, weight, speed guy that can play in the slot and from depth at safety with ball skills. They have C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who's super versatile. And so I think we need to get excited about where the sub-package groupings can go and it being more matchup specific, which is a big shift. So those are my 2 big thoughts on what these picks tell us about the defense.
The series continues on as the Sabres fell 2-1 to the Bruins in overtime last night. They did break the streak of no power play goals for real this time as Rasmus Dahlin scored the one and only. Alex Lyon allowed the 2 goals on 29 shots. Game 6 set for Friday at 7:30 in Boston. A win still clinches for the Sabres. Other scores from last night, the Wild, they beat the Stars 4-2, and the Oilers beat the Ducks 4-1. Looking around the NFL Network's Ian Rappaport reports Broncos quarterback Bo Nix underwent a successful and anticipated follow-up cleanup procedure on his ankle. ESPN's Adam Schefter believes the Eagles will receive a first-round pick for A.J. Brown from the Patriots when the trade, quote, comes together on June 1st. Schefter also reports the Steelers placed the rare right of first refusal tender on quarterback Aaron Rodgers. The Athletic's Zach Rosenblatt reports the Jets, they're hosting Russell Wilson on a visit and are considering him an option to be Geno Smith's number 2 quarterback. Join Brian Koziel from 2 to 5 on May 2nd at Batavia Downs as he broadcasts live for the Kentucky Derby. Check out the Derby parties and specials at BataviaDownsGaming.com. Batavia Downs Gaming and Hotel, the area's premier entertainment destination. Those are your Paddock Chevrolet sports headlines. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Joe Cali for Western New York's Voice of the Fans, WGR.
Look out, a pass ahead. Pasternak with a chance, scores! David Pasternak in overtime. And the Boston Bruins stay alive and send the series back to the Garden.
I'm going to give that a thumbs down. Did not like that moment. That's my least favorite moment from the game, was when it ended and the Bruins won it. 803-0550 is our phone number. Good morning, Jeremy and Joe. Congratulations to Joe and his wife on the birth of their baby girl. He has some time off to prepare. What advice would I give? Every time people ask me like what advice I would give, I always say start lifting weights. If you don't already, because holding a baby, it's like the time you will hold it while it's, just prepare.
It seems like a long-term solid move.
They start to grow. It's like holding when they're young, like 10-pound, 15. Then you get to be toddlers, like just get a 25-pound dumbbell and just hold it like this for an hour.
Just cradle it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just like be ready. Bulk up the guns.
Having a child the original progressive overload where the kid grows and you have to keep carrying him around so your kid gets heavier and you're lifting more weight. That's the OG progressive overload.
Might be.
That sounds right.
Seems good.
803-0550, our phone number. All right. We'll talk about it. They lost. They're going to play in Boston on Friday night. And what a party it'll be when they win on Friday. We'll all be out on the town, bars. Good stuff. It'll free up our Sunday. We'll get Sunday off instead of going to Game 7. Flynn is in Nashville. Flynn, good morning.
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
Good.
Hey, touching base here a little late. I know you might have hit the point already, but with Noah hurt, do they slide a Tanner Pearson in there? Does Consta get called up? Well, I didn't know what your thoughts were on the centers going forward here.
It's a great question. Hellenius played this season. I was just digging into the numbers at Natural Stat Trick, like how much he's played this year for them. And he played center. I mean, he's a center. He's listed as center / right wing, but like they've used him at center.
Yeah.
He's a play driver.
Yeah, he can play both.
Yeah.
Guys at that level can likely do both.
So he played 105 minutes. That's his time on ice. His all of his numbers were good. I mean, granted, it's not like playoff hockey, but the advanced numbers were pretty good. They scored more when he was on the ice than they were scored against. His shot share was good. Tanner Pearson or your high-end play driver AHL 19-year-old.
Yeah.
I know what I would like, but I'm not a hockey coach, and these series turn on these plays, and like playoff hockey, they went out and they got Tanner Pearson for a reason. Like it was for this, was it not?
Yeah, exactly. And
but they're down 2 centers here with Ostlund and Carrick. You're down 2 centers. That's tough.
It is. That's two good, really, really centers that have played big roles for you this year. So yeah, it's tough. And on Helenius, like he I like him a lot, and I think he, even as a young kid, is known to be defensively responsible, as sort of a high pick offensive dynamo. He does do a good job with that stuff, but I still just, does he know the Lindy Ruff system? Do they run the same system in Rochester? Is it sort of what kind of intricate differences could there be that, it might be a lot to ask him to come in and play a role that's really anything more than a limited amount of minutes, but he's got the talent to do it. So it'll be really interesting, but I think Norris will just slide in and that'll be it. It's just going to be, all right, Norris, you go back, Kozak slides back down to his fourth line spot, and they go from there.
And if it's Norris, like of all the players, we had to call our previous segment, like talking about calling out Tage Thompson, of any player you'd want more from, Norris is top of the list. He's their highest paid forward.
Yeah,
that's the guy you'd want more from.
And I had made that point after he had a bit of a slump after coming back from the Olympic break, and he scored a few goals heading into the playoffs.
Yep.
And I felt pretty like, all right, he came alive. Now that's huge. If he's able to be an impact player, then they're golden. I think that makes them a far, far more dangerous team.
He finished the season on a 5-game point streak.
Yeah.
Like 3 goals and 3 assists in 5 games. And that was after going 2-3 weeks.
Yeah,
about a month with 1 goal.
Yeah.
So it had started to come together. I don't know if he picked up an injury in game 1. He went to the boards really hard.
I thought what I saw in game 2 was when he, in the first period, went down into the boards hard, like head first. And I thought head. Maybe that's my own sort of predisposition to looking for those kind of injuries because I had so many of them and I'm so sensitive to it. But it looked like he was pretty jacked up after he hit went head first into the boards.
He's
after
flexing his jaw.
Yeah, just kind of moving the neck around like, man, I don't feel great here. And, that would kind of line up if it was concussion
day to day for about a week.
Day to day for about a week.
And then back.
He's back. He skated
ready.
Yesterday. He feels good. All right, I'm good.
Right.
So that would kind of line up.
Game 2 was the 21st. So that was 8 days ago.
Yeah.
And by the time we get to game 6 in Boston, that's solid 10 days from that, if in fact that is what happened. So
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that was sort of it. I would like it to not be that, so that you had the excuse that he wasn't very good in games 1 and 2 because he was hurt. But I don't know if I buy that.
Dominic next up. Dominic, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Jeremy. And I think Owen's still on, right?
Yes,
I'm
he
not
is.
watching my YouTube. I can't see his
Yeah, he's here.
All right. Well, good morning, you guys. Just 2 things. One thing, I think the best way to recover from a loss is you got to fire the penalty box doorman. That seems to be the best way to figure that out. No, I can't help it. I got to rip on John Cooper. The guy can't stand him. The other thing is, it's kind of like in the realm of let's get stupid. So I don't think coaches would ever do this, but I'm just kind of wondering if they ever kind of like hint at it. Is when the game's clearly like not being called anything. Like when Josh, I can't think of his last name.
Doan, yeah.
Like gets tripped up to the point where like he can't even get up because there's a stick between his legs, and they don't call a trip.
Yep.
And that was like a pivotal, like the puck's loose, he could have potentially had a scoring chance, and he's literally just sitting around the ground so he can't get up because the Boston guy's stick between his legs. Is there ever a point where it's so obvious that the coach might be like, you know what, they're not really calling anything, not necessarily do whatever you want, like don't spear a guy in the throat, like don't be nuts. But like, hey, if a guy's getting by you, hold him a little bit. Maybe if your stick's in the way, like big deal, like they're not calling anything. Like I understand, like that's probably not the smartest thing. That's why I'm saying it's in the realm of let's get stupid. But like, does anything like that ever happen on the benches? Or it's just because, I mean, if it was me, and again, I'm kind of stupid, I would just be like, hey, they're not calling anything. Play a little loose, do it, make it, even it up, because Bruins are committing penalties every shift and not getting called. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Thanks, Dominic. Yeah, I think that's when a coach would say, like, as long as they're calling it both ways, like we'll play this game, right? What's this game that's being played? They're going to call it or not call it both ways. Then we want the same liberties. We want the right to the same liberties.
Yeah, that's the thing that coaches always will argue with the ref about is the precedent that they set. And I thought they set a pretty hard precedent with the first call they made on Kastelik on Benson. It was not really
That's not tough at all.
Not really a very
That's
hard.
how the Sabres got their only goal.
Yeah, but then that standard changed, I think, pretty drastically from that point. Like, if that was the standard, then there should have been 45 calls last night, and there weren't. So that's where I think frustration boils in with the referees when you see a call like that. Even that goes for the Sabres. But now it's just, okay, what are the rules? What rules are we playing by here? I don't understand what I'm allowed to do and what I'm not, because this guy got a penalty early in the game for just shoving a guy, and now I've got people punching me in the back of the head, and nothing's happening.
803-0550. Jay in Hamilton is up. Good morning, Jay.
Good morning, boys. That's a tough loss last night, but I'm not surprised. At the beginning of this series, I figured Buffalo would win. They are the better team, but it's going to be a tough series, and I have every confidence that the Sabres will pull it out. Even though I am a Habs fan, I've always loved Buffalo and the Sabres, and they'll pull this out. But the reason I wanted to call real quick was, as a Canadian, as an actual Canadian living in Canada, when I saw last night the city of Buffalo come together and finish and sing the Canadian national anthem, boys, I couldn't tell you how emotional I got when I watched it. I couldn't really understand for a moment what was happening, and the mic is cutting out, and I'm hearing the fans get louder and louder and louder. I hear some woo-hoos in there, and I'm thinking to myself, I just wanted the singer to stop singing and listen to the amazing people of Buffalo sing another country's national anthem. And I've always loved the city of Buffalo. I visit you guys all the time. I know we're going through a lot of trade and tariff BS and things like that, but I don't try to get involved in that. I've always loved my American brothers, and the city of Buffalo is like the city of Hamilton to me. Born and raised on steel, hard work ethic, and just good people. And I'm just so proud to call Buffalo my friends. And thank you for what you guys did last night. It really brought us together. And that's what hockey and sports does.
Yep.
Thanks a lot, guys. You have a good one.
Thanks, Jay. We talked about it after game one, when there was a lot of reaction from the Boston media. How they sing both anthems. I don't know if we talked about it on the air or off the air, where we suggested you could cut out as the Canadian anthem singer and we would sing it. Did we say that on the air?
I think we might have.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think that,
and sure enough, it happens in Game 5 where the mic malfunctions and the crowd finishes it off. Yeah, it's people that aren't from this area and don't really know. I talk to my family that might live in New Jersey or different parts of the country, and he's just like, yeah, I mean, it's basically Canada here. It's across the river. We go there regularly. It's not living here for however many years you do. It's very normal to just see Canada, be part of Canada, go over there to play golf, go over there to go to dinner, whatever. It's very, it's hard not to have a completely interwoven life with just going to Canada.
Yeah, I mean, I lived my summers in Canada for a good chunk of my life. I played.
Yeah.
My youth hockey team was the only U.S. team in a Canadian league. So yeah, I mean, it's a deep connection, and I appreciate what the caller mentioned there. It is definitely a time between the U.S. and Canada that is not exactly comfortable.
Right.
And I think that moment last night shows a little bit of the humanity that is out there still.
Yeah,
and I
which
really appreciate it.
Tends to be how it works when it comes to humanity versus geopolitical conflict.
Right.
People expressing humanity tend to show that humans can be good people.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Good
moment.
to see.
Great
Very
moment. 803-0550 and 1-888-550-2550 to join us. Jeremy and Joe. Joe out for a bit on paternity leave. The Swayman chants are not working.
No.
Let's not do it in Game 7.
I would like that.
What do you think? Just an idea. Let's not. It's not working. 3 games. I don't think it's working.
I've been with you. I don't like that they do it before a goal is scored or anything.
Listen,
you're honestly juicing them up. I feel like
I'll be curious to see if Boston does it for Lyon again, because they did it early in both games before.
Yeah,
I'd be curious if they go maybe we should pump the brakes on that, because I think we've gotten to that place here. Let's not do that again.
What can we yell that would actually get him off his game?
Alaska sucks. I don't know. It doesn't, so it
What
feels
would
like a
actually
lie.
bother him? What would actually do it?
I don't know if there's much you can say to that guy. He's a pretty. I really like him. He's really good.
He's 25.
You give that guy a good imagine him performing this way in front of like a team that was like pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, that's a Stanley Cup goalie right there. He's legit.
If the Sabres bounce them in 6 and they're gonna rebuild, you want to trade him? Just saying. I don't know. That'd be cool. All right, let's just beat him instead. 803-0550. 1-888-550-2550. Game 6 comes your way Friday. All right, when we return, I do have something I wanted to bring up here. What was it? I've got I mentioned it earlier. Maybe we'll save it for tomorrow or another day. But the NBA's new there will be no 3-2-1 point system in the NHL, not yet. But there will be a 3-2-1 lottery in the NBA, and it's another day where a pro sports league does something very obviously terribly stupid. This time it's the NBA. So we'll get to that. We'll get to your phone calls. And Marty Braun at 9 o'clock. Jeremy, what you have like the moment at home, next goal wins, and if it's our guys, it's the next round, Win a period, win a round. Score a goal, win a round. And instead, back to Boston, I think a lot of Sabres fans, of course, they'll talk about, are you nervous? Are you worried? The Bruins still have to win 2 more. And the Sabres have been the better team throughout the series. But if the game looks like last night's game, maybe it feels like 2 coin tosses because – well, whatever. The games could go the other way, too, where the Sabres look like the better team and Boston can still win. We've got road teams winning 4 out of 5 in this series. Only game 1. It was almost all 5 games were won by the road team. And the Noah Ostlund news is not good. That doesn't look good. That's got me much more nervous than the loss.
Agreed.
Not supposed to be where Noah Ostlund is like the glue that holds it together, but since they put him in the lineup, they looked better. Power play looked better. Lots of things looked better. So, I don't know. What do we do about it? What do we do with it? Process it with me. 803-0550.
I think the thing that you could sort of lean on, even though, last night did not go the way you wanted it to, I thought late in the third and through most of the overtime,
dominant.
They deserved
absolutely
the win.
Yeah.
Like they were all over the Bruins. Swayman made a save on Thompson off a pass from Krebs that was absurd with only a few minutes left that I thought was all right, well, that was it. You didn't score there. You're probably not beating this guy tonight, and he's stealing his team another game. That's what he does, and he was stellar again last night, and I thought he was the difference. Like that those saves he made late in the third and then early in overtime, all the way up until Pastrnak gets his breakaway, I thought were huge. I thought the Sabres generated enough that they, would have liked to have converted on one of those chances, but, just didn't have it in the middle sort of portion of the game, and it just was too much time that slipped away from them.
Yep. Paul, let's get to the injury report brought to you by Hamburg Overhead Doors. Your garage door injured, call the experts at Hamburg Overhead Door to get your door healthy again. Of course, Noah Ostlund is the story here. He leaves the game, comes back to the bench, and tries to give it a go, and then leaves again. And Lindy said it doesn't look good. So you think we find out today? I mean, in your experience, I know you can't, look at the MRIs or whatever's happening here, but, when a guy has that, is the comeback and try a good sign to you, or do you feel like this will be, week to week potentially for Ostlund?
Well, yeah, no, sometimes it is a good sign, but when the head coach afterwards says it doesn't look good, and it didn't, just watching it happen, it didn't look good. The Bruin just accidentally fell on him and fell on his leg. I don't know if we're talking knee,
ankle sprain, or
ankle, knee, something like that.
Yeah.
somewhere there. And so, but when the head coach says it doesn't look good, I would be preparing to see Josh Norris back in the lineup.
Yeah. You think Norris should have been in the lineup anyway?
No. And I know it put them short. Kozak played a lot on lines that he wouldn't be normally on or used to. It's not what his role is. You certainly get the hustle and everything out of him, but he's not a top six forward.
Yep.
And I think it was definitely a factor in the game that Ostlund wasn't there, and the Sabres really didn't have anybody to put in there. But it wouldn't have made sense to put him out there with Greenway and Mallenstein. I mean, it wouldn't have made sense to pull Ostlund off a line he was performing very well on. So, no, I don't, even though I think it was a factor in the game. It just, I would have done the same thing. I would have had Norris in a situation where the team played really, really well in Boston, and you're just kind of in a wait your turn situation.
All right, 803-0550, our phone number. NHL action tonight, if you want to just, step away from the Sabres. Montreal, Tampa, that's in Tampa at 7 o'clock. Pittsburgh, Philly at 7:30 in Philly. The Flyers can close that series. Utah, Vegas, they're tied at 2 games apiece as well. That series goes to Vegas. We're still getting over it. Could have been an iconic moment. Instead, it's David Pastrnak getting behind the defense and scoring on a breakaway. Sucked the life out of a building. Well, Game 6 Friday and Game 7 potentially on Sunday. Time to be determined. Marty Baron joins us on the other side. Final hour of the show. We'll get his thoughts on what we saw, how the Sabres can bounce back, what the injury to Ostlund likely means for the lineup, and how Alex Lyon has taken this opportunity. We'll talk all of that with Marty. Get your calls in as well here on WGR. It's the second straight year where the Bills focus really, I think, on defense primarily. And we're kind of waiting to see this whole thing put together. I asked Brandon Bean on Monday about it, like how it is building a defense that kind of only exists on paper and the challenge that they might have trying to figure each guy's role while changing those roles. And what do you think we've learned about what they intend to do on defense based on how they've spent this offseason?
Well, it's been a lot of transition defensively over the last few years, and so it's really fun to kind of consider what this defense is going to look like. But the two prevailing thoughts for me on what these picks tell us about what this defense is going to look like is, number one, while they are switching to a 3-4 defense, we need to disassociate our minds from it being a classic two-gapping 3-4 defense. You think about those Patriots defenses that had Vince Wilfork in the middle and Hall of Famer and Richard Seymour at the 5 technique, and then Ty Warren's the other one. And it's like, these are fire hydrant, stationary guys that are going to lock, peek, shed, own that space. I don't think that's what the Bills are going to do. I think this is going to be a movement-based 3-4 front where it's not stationary two-gappers. It's defensive linemen that are going to have pre-snap shifts. They're going to slant. They're going to stunt to change gaps. They're going to do all those movement types things to disrupt the blocking schemes and create some chaos and create some confusion. And I mean, you just look at the makeup of the room. There is not a single player in this mix that projects as a two-gapping style player. They're all athletic players with, some of them with very good length, where I think it's going to be movement-based. And so, we kind of went into this thinking, oh, my goodness, 3-4, got to find a nose tackle, got to find a 5-tech that can really tie the scheme together. But they continue to tell us through their personnel moves that that's not what they're looking for. So I think that's number one, is calibrating my expectations for what's going to be asked of this front. And then the other thing is just that this defense, when it comes to the secondary, is going to be pretty multiple. Obviously, I think Benford and Harrison will be your every down outside corners. TJ Gardner-Johnson and Bishop will be your every down safeties. But when they're in nickel and dime, 5 DBs, 6 DBs, which I think will be every bit of 60, 70% of the snaps, that group could look different. I think D. Alford will play a ton in the slot, but I think this is going to be a defense that plays the matchup. And so whenever the Bills were in nickel in the past under McDermott, it was, okay, Taron Johnson's on the field, that's it. Like, those are the 5 players that they would have. This will be matchup specific, where it'll be a lot of D. Alford, but they have IGB, right, who I think can situationally play. In going back to Denver, they had a very defined corner situation, but they drafted Jahdae Barron in the first round, and he played situationally in the slot. He played situationally in dime packages on the second level. Jalen Kilgore, who they drafted in the 5th round, who's a height, weight, speed guy that can play in the slot and from depth at safety with ball skills. They have CJ Gardner-Johnson, who's super versatile. And so I think we need to get excited about where the sub-package groupings can go and it being more matchup specific, which is a big shift. So those are my 2 big thoughts on what these picks tell us about the defense.
The series continues on as the Sabres fell 2-1 to the Bruins in overtime last night. They did break the streak of no power play goals for real this time, as Rasmus Dahlin scored the one and only goal. Alex Lyon allowed 2 goals on 29 shots. Game 6 set for Friday at 7:30 back in Boston. A win still clinches for the Sabres. Some other scores from the playoffs. The Wild, they beat the Stars 4-2, and the Oilers beat the Ducks 4-1. Looking around the NFL Network's Ian Rappaport reports Broncos quarterback Bo Nix underwent a successful and anticipated follow-up cleanup procedure on his ankle. ESPN's Adam Schefter believes the Eagles will receive a first-round pick for A.J. Brown from the Patriots when the trade, quote, comes together on June 1st. Schefter also reports that the Steelers placed the rare right of first refusal tender on quarterback Aaron Rodgers. The Athletic's Zach Rosenblatt reports the Jets, they're hosting Russell Wilson on a visit and are considering him as an option to be Geno Smith's number 2 quarterback. You can join Brian Koziel from 2 to 5 on May 2nd at Batavia Downs as he broadcasts live for the Kentucky Derby. Check out the Derby parties and specials at BataviaDownsGaming.com. Batavia Downs Gaming and Hotel, the area's premier entertainment destination. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet, with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Joe Cali for Western New York's Voice of the Fans, WGR.
Sabres lose in Game 5, on to Game 6. We're talking about it with you, 803-0550. Kind of just going through it. You know. Lost opportunity at a great night, but there are 2 more opportunities to advance and beat the Boston Bruins. Joining us on the Western Hotline, Marty Baron, after last night's game. Marty, how you handling today?
Oh, I'm fine. Absolutely 100% fine. Listen, this is going to be a long series. The only thing is I feel like every morning after games now in the playoffs, I lose my voice, and then it comes back. But, nope. Sabres, actually, you know what's funny? Because people have been saying, like, okay, you got to play smart. You don't want to make mistakes. I think the Sabres did that. Like, they didn't try to force it through the Boston Bruins 5-man neutral zone. They dumped the puck in a lot. They just were waiting for one bounce. And, well, the bounce came to Boston's way, and it's totally fine. Now you just got to go back to Boston where you played 2 great games and make it happen.
Yeah, Marty, I feel like the playoffs for the first time in 14 years is a good reminder that playing 7 games means you get, or best of 7, you get potentially 7 different-looking games. And Game 4, the Sabres looked like a dominant, unstoppable force, and Boston – in Game 5, definitely bounced back and brought a better effort.
Yeah, and it's funny because if you, in the regular season, won 4 games out of 7, if you went 4-3, 4-3, 4-3, 4-3, you wouldn't make the playoffs. But if you go 4-3, 4-3, 4-3, 4-3 in the playoffs, you win the Stanley Cup, right? So I mean, you everybody wants the Sabres and your team, when you're cheering for a team, to win every game, and that's fine, but the playoffs are much more than that. I don't think anybody is going to, wake up this morning on the Buffalo Sabres side and think we're in trouble. They're not in trouble. They lost a very tightly contested game. This was not like Game 2 where, I feel like Game 1 and Game 2, the Sabres were in more trouble than they are now. Like, they didn't play well other than the 6 minutes in Game 1. They weren't able to stay patient against Boston. And I feel like last night there's a little bit of the first 2 games that came back, and the fact that Boston started to hold and clutch and grab, every time they could. And, that's going to, the Sabres will mention it to the supervisors, and that's going to be something to look for Friday night in Game 6. But I don't think Boston's going to get away from that with that as much as they did in Game 5. That's not a problem. You scored a power play goal. You went 1 for 3. Would it have been great if you'd gotten 2 for 3? Absolutely. But I feel like you moved the puck and you shot the puck better, and there's a lot of good things there. They actually had great chances. They had great chances. Oh, no overtime. Tuck, rebound in the slot. Tyson Kozak in the third period. Thompson in the second period, I think it was. maybe in the third period too. He had a great chance backdoor. Like there's been great chances. It's playoff hockey, and you gotta be able to put it behind you.
Marty Baron joining us on the Western Hotline talking about last night's Sabres loss to the Boston Bruins. Marty, the way this series goes, the ebbs and flows, like for Game 6 in Boston, this team has been good on the road all year, right? Alex Lyon has been a big part of what they've done on the road this year. I imagine they're going to stick with Lyon and try and go get a third win in Boston. Do you feel like when a team knows it's good on the road, do they simplify things? Like what will the mindset be, you think, going into Boston for Game 6, where they've already won 2?
No, because the game wasn't simplified in Game 3 and 4. What they did really well in Boston, and Lindy Ruff mentioned that a little bit yesterday in his post-game presser, but they executed so well in Boston. They made great passes. They attacked with speed, so much so that Boston was overwhelmed. Like, I think that the Sabres played a really good game yesterday. They didn't execute early in the game, especially. They didn't execute as well as they wanted to, and then it allowed Boston to say, "Oh, okay, let's play the trap." Like that's what Boston did basically the whole game. Is they set up in the neutral zone and they play a trap. Well, the only way to break a trap, there's 2 ways. One is you dump and chase, and you hope that you're going to get like a couple of bounces go your way. Or 2, you got to execute, make really good passes, attack with speed, and then you're going to get some looks. Well, when they were up 1-0 in the first period, they had some opportunities to maybe take a 2-0 lead. That would have changed the game. I don't think they were as sharp in the first period as maybe they were late in the game. But by that point, Swayman is in the game. The way they're going to, the refs are going to let it go because it's late in the third and in overtime. So Boston was able to just really be this type of team that's gonna slow you down. But if you execute early, the game changes. You executed early in Game 4, the game changed. I think that's what you have to do in Boston. You have to execute early, and it's not about being on the road or being at home. It's just that's the key to set the tempo and beating the Boston Bruins.
How big of a loss will Noah Ostlund be?
Well, it was a big loss yesterday. You lose him in the first period. Now you have to roll 11 forwards. At one point, after 2 periods, I think Tuck was already at 15 minutes. I didn't look at the numbers post-game yet because I'll do that when I get into the studio to get ready for Sabres Live. But, I think that your top forwards played a lot of minutes. And with Noah Ostlund, that would have been a lot less for everybody else. Maybe the power play gets a goal with Noah Ostlund on it. But you have Josh Norris waiting to return. So I feel like in the playoffs, a lot of your guys are going to get hurt. They're going to miss a few games. It's all about who you've got to be able to fill into that spot. Just like you have Noah Ostlund to fill into the Josh Norris spot, you got Josh Norris to fill into the Noah Ostlund spot. So I'll never say I love Noah Ostlund. So I'll never say, it's no big deal. I wish that you could have Ostlund and Norris in Game 6. But if you don't, it's not as bad because you have Norris waiting and ready to come back in the middle of the ice.
What did you see from Norris at the end of the season? We were talking how he finishes the season on a 5-game point streak, and then games 1 and 2 didn't necessarily look too great for that line, but the Sabres, Game 2, I think the entire team might have been just kind of not with it. Do you feel like Norris is in a good spot to jump in and make a difference in a Game 6 and potential Game 7?
Yeah, I think Norris is in a good spot. I think that, and look, you never know because in the playoffs they'll never tell you what is holding a player back. But there was a play late in the first period of Game 1 where Norris went into the wall really, really hard, head first. He got up, and then he had 3 really bad turnovers in Game 1. And Game 2, everybody was kind of like blah. But when I was watching the games and I was taking my notes, it was like, oh, that didn't look good on Norris, right? And like you do with everybody, like last night was, first period, that doesn't look good on Austin. Like you keep an eye on that. So, but I really feel that maybe even the extra game last night, given Norris an extra game because he was available to come back. Lindy Ruff says, I've got Zucker, Kozak, and Norris available for the game. So they decided to give him an extra game. I think he's going to be fine. I think Josh Norris is going to be a big-time player for the Sabres in these playoffs. But he needed to take a couple of games off with a little something, and now he's going to be back. He'll be fine.
Rasmus Dahlin picks up his first goal of the postseason. The power play gets on the board. The good news, Marty, I think for the power play, they end the drought. I do think it had started to be trending towards that, towards finding the back of the net. And I don't think it'd be a big surprise at all if they're able to get another one somewhere in this series.
Oh, no, they're going to get their power play is going to produce. Game 1 and Game 2, it was rough. The power play was rough. Game 3 was a little bit better. Game 4, they get that Josh Doan goal at the end of the power play. Doesn't count as a power play goal, but I feel like it was getting better. And the reason it's getting better, it's like everything else. It's execution. I mean, people hate the drop back breakout pass on the power play. Everybody in the league does it. Why? Because when you execute, you enter the zone so easy. Well, it doesn't matter what you do. You can dump it in. You can drop it back. The Sabres were so bad at executing 10-foot passes on the power play in the first couple of games of the series. They were bad at executing 10-foot passes on the power play late in the season. But Game 3 and 4 was different. They were executing. They were getting looks. Game 5 was different. Like they did the drop back pass to McLeod a couple of times, and it was so easy into the zone. Boom, there you go. Why? Because everybody was executing the way they should. Dahlin's goal was a bit of a broken play, but still, you have to be able to be creative and make plays. I think that the power play is going to get another one, maybe two, in this series, and then hopefully they continue, 25 to 30%, 1 for 3, 1 for 4 every game would be fantastic.
Marty, which other series have you liked watching the most?
Well, Montreal Tampa. This one is resuming tonight. It's 2-2. It's been fun. 3 games went to overtime. 1 game was a 3-2 win late in the third period. They basically been bouncing back and forth. Montreal, Tampa with the wins. That has been fun. Dallas, Minnesota has been fun, although I didn't get to see a lot of last night's game, obviously. We were doing one. But when I got home, it was already, 4-1 Edmonton last night. So I was like, well, this one is over. There's been a lot of series that have been fun, but those 3, I think, have been a lot of fun.
Martin Baron joining us on the Worcester Hotline. Marty, we'll let you rest up the voice and get ready for Sabres Live.
Yeah, that's okay. I got an easy day today and then traveling to Boston tomorrow, and, we'll get ready for Friday.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Marty.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Marty, he'll be up on Sabres Live. 803-0550 and 1-888-550-2550 to join us. Montreal-Tampa tonight, Game 5. Pittsburgh-Philly tonight, Game 6. Utah-Vegas tonight, Game 5. So you got 7, 7:30, and 10 p.m. starts. To the phones, Joel in Ransomville. Joel, good morning. Oh, all right. Hang on, Joel. We'll catch up. You'll catch up. Yeah, you're up.
Tonight, Game 6.
All right, hang on. It's going to catch up. He's picking up his phone. He's like, hello? Oh, wait, he put me back on hold. And here's Joel. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
I just wanted to say that, the thing I have, a problem with is how the rules change in overtime. And I cringe when I hear the refs don't want to decide the game. They're not deciding the game. If the player causes a penalty and his team loses because they're shorthanded, he caused the problem. not the refs. I mean, what other sport do the rules change in overtime? So that's all. I just don't like the fact that things. I mean, I think it was Doan who had a stick between the legs right in front of the goal. No call. That's it.
Yep.
Just don't like seeing I don't like seeing changes in overtime.
Thanks, Joel. I tend to think, I agree there should have been a couple of penalties called on Boston in the overtime. Let me just try this on. You tell me if you agree or disagree. I don't think hockey's the only sport that changes its rules late. Again, they don't really change the rules, but in football, you swallow a whistle. You don't throw a flag. How often is it that you're watching an NBA game or a college basketball game, they call a foul with 3 seconds left? You say, how could you call that right there? And the flip of that is obviously that's a foul. How did they not call that? So I think you often get officials wanting to just let a play be a play. It maybe is a fixture of the NHL that this happens because, I don't know, it's just more notable. It happens and they missed penalties in the second period too.
I think that there's a part of it that's like the NHL almost has a pride in it, in the way that it changes, because it's like, oh, well, it gets harder.
It's tougher.
We're so much tougher.
Let me ask you one more thing. Has anyone ever actually said the words, the officials, they don't want to influence the game? Like, officials have never actually said that. Isn't that something that we always just guess is why it's like that?
Yeah, I think so.
I've never,
and I think it's.
And I'm not saying it's never happened. Has Gary Bettman ever said, "Well, there are fewer penalties called in overtime because we don't want officials deciding the game"? It's never been on record anywhere that I'm aware of.
That's a good question. I'm not sure of that. I feel like I would be surprised if someone in the league didn't at some point say, well, we like that the officials don't make themselves too involved.
Well, they might. Everything that's bad, they say they like. So
right, that's definitely true. But I think that it's like that whole idea is just the nature, like it's human nature taking over a little bit. Like obviously the referees don't want to make it about themselves. That's not their job. It's always going to be unwanted attention. So they will always sort of lean away from any sort of hesitant, like, if I'm hesitating on this, all right, then I don't want to take the risk.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with it. I don't want the people yelling at me. I don't want the phone call. I don't want the league mad at me. I'm just going to let it go. Because that's easier. It's easier to say, well, I missed it than, well, I was wrong and I did something that changed the outcome. I think it will always, as a referee, if you say, all right, I messed up, you'd rather mess up by saying, well, I didn't catch this, than I did the wrong thing and changed the course of the game. So I think it's just human nature of these referees and these officials all just going, like, I don't need this. In addition to the, stigma that comes along with it, especially in the NHL.
Thanks, Joel. 8030550. The Ted Lindsay Award finalists have been named. Kucherov, McDavid, Celebrini. That goes to most outstanding player voted on by the NHLPA.
Crazy that McKinnon's not on that list.
Yeah.
I mean, led the league in goals, but his peers, that's voted on by the other players. Who do we think's the best? They said Macklin. That's pretty. That's a testament to that kid is a young kid, and he is
real diamond in the rough. That guy. Huh? No one ever saw that coming, did they? All right, perfect opportunity to get this conversation in quickly about the NBA tanking rule.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
I mean, listen, I appreciate a good tank. I support a good tank. I guess you have to decide what the real problem is. What's the worst thing that happens? The NBA is introducing very harsh anti-tanking rules. And if you are someone that wants to never make it good to lose your game, then this proposal is for you. What I would simply humbly suggest is that you have to decide what is your biggest problem. And in the NBA, I think your biggest problem is teams staying bad. That's every league's problem. The bad thing is when teams stay bad. What was bad about the Sabres' 14-year drought? They stayed bad. They picked number 1 or number 2 4 times. 2 of those might have been by design. 2 of those were accidental. They don't really make that big a difference. You need your team to be good. Anyway, here's the NBA's anti-tanking system. And again, if you hate tanking, today is your victory parade. The 3 worst records in the NBA will get, this is Adam Silver's proposal, the 3 worst records get 2 lottery balls. The rest of the teams that miss the playoffs and the play-in get 3. So the 4th worst team gets 3 balls. The 3rd worst team gets 2 balls. If you're bottom 3, you have a lower chance of winning the lottery than the 7 teams that finish from 4 to 11. Then come the 9th and 10th play-in teams. They get 2 lottery balls. If you finish as the 9 seed in the East, you get the same number of lottery balls as the worst team in the sport. And if you are a loser of the 7-8 play-in game, which is a playoff spot, you'll get 1 lottery ball. That's their plan, is to have 16 picks. All 16 picks are chosen by the lottery. And listen, I understand if you don't think tanking is good. One thing that it does for football fans, football is the sport that never had a lottery. They don't have a lottery. Maybe it's because there aren't enough games to ruin your product and tank all year long. But what you have here in the NBA is make yourself a Utah Jazz fan. Imagine ever being good again. Good luck.
Right.
You have to, as a league, accept that you have inequities. The Lakers and the Jazz exist in the same league. The Lakers and the Suns and the Trailblazers and the Rockets and
the Celtics and the Kings.
The Celtics and the Sacramento Kings. This is a little bit of Sabres' point. Like, why did we think the Sabres should, among other things, like they should tank way back when? It's because you have disadvantages built into your existence. And the new anti-tanking system in the NBA will further the gap. These leagues in American sports, we don't have relegation. In American sports, we have the worst teams get the good players, and that's the cycle, and it helps the leagues stay healthy, and it helps the fans stay engaged. And what the NBA did to create this problem, if you just had the last place team picks first, you would not have 6 teams tanking. They would know we don't have a chance. Instead, they smoothed it out to ensure more teams would tank once it's clear they weren't going to make the playoffs. And then they took that problem and fixed the problem they didn't have by making it worse. Now, the entire top 16 is a drawing. I'm the worst team in the league because I'm actually honestly bad and have no talent, and the lottery tells me I'm picking 12th?
Yeah.
You're nuts.
There's going to be a team that will be banished to eternal irrelevance and like just nightmare.
You lost the plot with what the problem is.
Yeah.
You're one team's going to finish at the bottom and pick first. This is such a problem. We must actually make it so 6 teams want to do that. Oh, that's a problem. Now we'll just have the entire first round be a lottery. Nuts. It's a terrible idea. People will celebrate it because they have their eye on the wrong villain. The villain is not a team that's really bad decides like, hey, let's give our fans some hope and pick high. The villain is a team that is stuck and will never compete because they'll never have a great player. So congratulations, the NBA, who is often a forward-thinking league and gets a lot of things right. This is the 3-2-1 lottery, and it is a disaster.
It seems
it's an
like
absolute disaster that will get celebrated.
Yeah, absolutely it will. It seems like they've been sort of felt like Silver came in and did some good stuff, and it's kind of tapering off here.
I think it's a mess.
I think
it's a total
he's
mess.
really struggling lately. I think all the LA Clippers stuff has been insane.
Yeah, the 65 game rule, the
65.
Load management. But what we've got, it's got its share of problems. Whatever. I don't think it's dying or a bad league.
No,
but this proposal, like you created a problem and fixed it the wrong way. Congratulations, you created this problem, trying to fix a problem that was not a problem. No. I bet the NHL will do something similar soon because they can't resist. 803-0550. The NHL draws the top 2 picks. The NBA wants to draw the top 16. The last time that happened was the lockout. If you remember the lockout lottery, which was Crosby, the Sabres had the same number of lottery balls as the Penguins, and they picked 13th.
Yeah.
Nuts. And it kept them bad for a decade. Like,
right.
Maybe not. They got good pretty quickly afterwards. But Marek Zagrapan was never heard from.
Good Lord, that name.
Marek Zagrapan. 803-0550 to join us in 1-888-550-2550. Meanwhile, the guy that went first in that draft still plays and plays tonight.
Yeah. And he's awesome.
He's still good. All right. The power of winning drawings. The NBA will now be a drawing-based league. Who wins the raffle for the players? Basically completely random. The highest chance a team will have at the number one pick is 5%.
Oh.
Okay.
Gosh.
Okay. You want me to think your league is fixed? The best way to do that is to make it look like you can usher this top player wherever you want him to go. That's the number one play to make.
Again, he could go anywhere.
Who knows where he goes? Oh, look at that. He went to
L.A.
Right.
Oh.
We can just pick where he goes.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway. All right. That's your NBA talk for the month. Jeremy and Joe. I'm kidding, of course. If something comes up, we'll talk about it. Jeremy and Joe, 803-0550 on WGR. And last night was the first night I thought, you mentioned that Tage chance, where I thought, like, it is time for Tage to score again.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things I'm going to ask Paul today. So the lineup today, we got Paul at 8. We've got Marty Baron at 9. Joe Marino talks Bill's draft class with us at 7 o'clock, too. So we'll mix in some other stuff. But one thing I thought about this game and Paul, asking Paul at 8 o'clock is, the whole your best players have to be your best players, and are the Sabres' best players being their best players still? In the first game of the series, that was the story. Thompson lifts them. But since then, now what?
I mean, you got Dahlin with a goal last night, which was, I think, big for him to get off the schneid.
Now, see, I didn't celebrate that as a power play goal because I was told to think of the other one like a power play goal.
Right.
Right? So that
right.
didn't – no, I'm kidding, of course. Yeah.
But I think that was nice, but you just – yeah, I think Thompson's got to make an impression on more than one game in the series. I thought he wasn't bad necessarily in either game in Boston.
No,
nobody was really good in game 2.
Yeah, game 4, everybody was fine.
Right, but I just think, that's a guy you need in a game that's that tight. Like, make a play.
Yeah.
Make something happen here. And
I thought he was engaged. I thought it was just not working for him.
Exactly. Like there was one where he got into the slot with a really good look at the net and tried to pass it off, and that was one where I thought, like, man, shoot that puck. Like, you're Tage Thompson, you got a chance here. Like, take that over. And I maybe would have liked to see that a little bit. And yeah, I mean the best players, right? Like what happened last night for Boston? Pasternak made a play, an incredible play with wearing Samuelson as a cape, gets around Lyon and wins the game for him. It's easy to say you would have liked your guy to do the same thing for you at some point, but I think they had the chances to.
Yep.
And so I think you gotta want a little more out of that.
Paul, let's get to the injury report brought to you by Hamburg Overhead Doors. Your garage door injured, call the experts at Hamburg Overhead Door to get your door healthy again. Of course, Noah Ostlund is the story here. He leaves the game, comes back to the bench, and tries to give it a go, and then leaves again. And Lindy said it doesn't look good. So you think we find out today? I mean, in your experience, I know you can't, look at the MRIs or whatever's happening here, but, when a guy has that, is the comeback and try a good sign to you, or do you feel like this will be, week to week potentially for Ostlund?
Well, yeah, no, sometimes it is a good sign, but when the head coach afterwards says it doesn't look good, and it didn't, just watching it happen, it didn't look good. The Bruin just accidentally fell on him and fell on his leg. I don't know if we're talking knee,
ankle sprain,
ankle, knee, something like that.
Yeah.
Somewhere there. And so, but when the head coach says it doesn't look good, I would be preparing to see Josh Norris back in the lineup.
Yeah. You think Norris should have been in the lineup anyway?
No. And I know it put them short. Kozak played a lot on lines that he wouldn't be normally on or used to. It's not what his role is. You certainly get the hustle and everything out of him, but he's not a top 6 forward.
Yep.
And, I think it was definitely a factor in the game that Ostlund wasn't there, and the Sabres really didn't have anybody to put in there. But it wouldn't have made sense to put him out there with Greenway and Malenstein. I mean, it wouldn't have made sense to pull Ostlund off a line he was performing very well on. So, no, I don't, even though I think it was a factor in the game, it just, I would have done the same thing. I would have had Norris in a situation where the team played really, really well in Boston, and you're just kind of in a wait your turn situation.
Flashback. Flashback. Flashback.
Back it comes, kept in by Hesh. Penalty coming up to Philadelphia. Danny Briere! Danny Briere! On at least his 13th shot of the night, and Buffalo wins it in double overtime!
Playoff flashback. When I say flashback, you guys got to say it. Flashback.
Flashback.
That Sabres playoff flashback.
Flashback.
Flashback. Danny Briere, overtime, game 1 against the Flyers. 2 bits of business I'd like to get to. Joe Kelly scoring points for the Blade Gang, banging the drum, which, are we going to go this deep on the drum bangers draft? We are. That means that whoever was tentatively scheduled for Game 5 or was on the short list, maybe couldn't make it, they didn't have Blade Gang for the third home game when the playoffs started.
No.
The Blade Gang was born in Game 1.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And they already ascended to bang the drum status. So whoever was supposed to go, they pushed later on, couldn't make it in time, whatever it might be. But Joe Kelly is now leading our drum banger league 2-1,
which is absurd
This is
with the
exciting
original
stuff.
roster he had. By the way,
It really is wild. Yeah, he
Wolf
had
Blitzer and Chad Michael Murray are on the winning roster.
Chad Michael Murray could have been on the short list for the game last time. We don't know.
Joe's team is getting jumbotron time. There's no doubt about that.
Sure.
Although who has Thurman? Nobody has. Who?
Sneaky Joe.
Sneaky Joe
has
Thurman.
Thurman.
Yeah, Sneaky's got Thurman.
All right, we're gonna have to get Joe's waiver updates because if Ryan Whitney didn't bang the drum last night, he's not going to again.
No.
So he got to get him off his roster. But Joe, you can make a waiver claim here with an open roster spot created by the Blade Gang, who you had picked up on waivers.
Okay.
So your next drum banger, that could be Game 7, it could be Game 1 of the next series.
I'm gonna pick my old reliable Tre'Davious White back up. I'm gonna grab a Wolf Blitzer. We're gonna get him back on the roster.
Wolf Blitzer is back on the roster. What a moment.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Wolf Blitzer back on the roster. I don't know if I'm up. I did not make a waiver claim in the last cycle. I'd like to make one.
That's
Absolutely.
fine. We'll allow it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm going to drop Joe Brady, who was at the game last night.
His attendance is not good for
We
them.
might have to have a conversation about the attendance.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to drop him. I'm picking up Derek Plant.
That's a good one.
Okay.
If there is a Game 7, will he not be right?
Yeah, it feels like
that would be right.
That might make sense. But then I felt the same thing for Brad May.
What's he doing?
So
what's Derek Plant doing?
That's a great question.
If it was Friday, you were getting another home game, I think Brad May would do it. Right? Like I would think so.
I thought Brad May would have been last night.
That's what I thought.
Maybe
I
he
thought
was supposed to be. Maybe he's
by the same logic of Plant.
He get one upped by the Blade Gang.
That seems
That's a tough scene, yeah.
That seems tough.
Yeah.
Am I allowed? I'll make a. I'll make a claim
why
too.
not?
I'm gonna drop Tasker and I'm gonna pick up Danny Gare.
Danny Gare, all right.
I think Danny's gonna have to do that at some point if they keep playing.
All right.
Is Bill Fichtner on a roster?
He is not on a roster.
I don't think it'll happen.
There
but
was
I
a
just
rumor
curious.
going around town yesterday that the Goo Goo Dolls were going to be banging the drum, but that did not come to fruition.
Joe has them, right?
Joe has Johnny Resnick.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Spencer Brown. What if it's two of them together? Anyway, 2-1. Joe Cali leads. 803-0550 is our phone number, and 1-888-550-2550. There's a funny story I saw, Channel 7's Jeff Russo, that there's a guy who was a part of building the original Highmark Stadium, and when he was building it, he lost his watch in the concrete core of the stadium, and they're wondering if they can get it out because the stadium's going to be torn apart, right?
Wow.
So he's got a watch in there, and the watch fell into the concrete. He knew there's no way getting it out. That's gone for good. Maybe not like wet concrete, but into a hole.
Into like a hole.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I can tell this very quick story. If they ever tear down Dwyer, the Niagara Hockey Arena, I have a BlackBerry that's in the concrete at Dwyer.
That's funny.
So what I did, I was up in the press box. I'm doing a Niagara game, maybe for Time Warner at the time, or maybe on Niagara's home broadcast or whatever, like when I was doing play-by-play for Niagara. Standing there up in the press box, and like I must have been in a text thread conversation in one of the commercial breaks, and it's popping off, and I'm like, oh, I can't look at this. I got to work.
Right.
So I go to put my phone on the ledge behind me, and the ledge behind me is like
pitch forward.
It's masonry. It's like, it's a wall of bricks, and I put it up there, and it drops out of my hand. I think like,
It seems far.
I didn't expect it to drop. I thought that would be a hard ledge. So I'm like, okay. And I finish, doing next commercial break. I get up, I stand on a chair, and like, oh no, that's just an open wall all the way to
like
the
a cinder
bottom.
block
So yeah, I have a
and-
BlackBerry that will be inside of Dwyer Arena until the heat death of the universe. So if they ever tear that building down, I'm gonna go get that phone.
I had when I was building houses for a living, I dropped my phone off of the roof into the like basement of a building that we were like, creating, and it was like we couldn't get into the basement for like a week, and I had to wait to get my phone back out of the basement.
You did get it back?
I got it back eventually, but it was like, I listen, where the stairs aren't built yet, and you can't go down there because the concrete's not set. Whatever, you gotta wait. We're just get a new phone or wait. It's up to you.
Here's a good point. This is as good a point as anything that's been brought up on the entire show, and I say that. Oh, whatever. You take it for what it's worth. Sabretooth came down from the rafters, and the Better Days video were played before Game 1. And they've not been played since?
They have not. They have not.
If we have to come home for Game 7, we're going to need those.
I have
We're gonna
had
need those
the
back.
same thought. Like
Sabretooth only did, is it what, one and done, Tooth?
I know.
That's
come on, bring them out there. Let's go.
Make them drop from the ceiling again?
Again?
Yeah.
Yes.
Feels only right.
Another text. I'm going to be the old man that yells at a cloud and blame the loss on the Blade Gang banging the drum. For how fun it might be, it was unserious. We upset the hockey gods.
It's a problem, I think. My roster is 0 for 2 on games 1, even though when they bang the drum.
Fair.
Josh Allen banged it, and then the Blade Game banged the drum, and the Sabres have lost both games, but I've walked away with 2 points.
Yeah, I've also seen the drum has been in 2 separate locations for the 2 losses at home. The Josh Allen one was in the tunnel.
Yeah.
And this one last night, for some reason, it was in a different end. It wasn't.
Normally
it's straight across from me in the press box where I sit with Paul.
Yeah.
It was rollerblade accessible.
It was in the Sabres end. It was in one of the ends, like in 105, or no, not 105, 120 something over there on my the left hand side. If you're looking at it from the broadcast side.
Oh yeah, that's goofy.
So it was in a weird spot. I think it was so that the Blade Gang could skate in.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like, get it back to its rightful place, please. Just have somebody bang it, and we'll be good.
803-0550. Rob in Connecticut. Hey, Rob, good morning.
Good morning, Jeremy. Good morning, Owen. You guys have too much fun. I enjoy it.
We try.
I want your job. You guys are awesome. I mean, you're talking about watches and Blackberries and everything. You know, the watch, they could probably take an X-ray the concrete if this guy remembers where it was, an X-ray it, and then just chisel it out. Who knows? You never know. Anyways, my next question is, since I can't see, I'm curious to know how many guys are in the Blade Gang.
It's a great question. I think the original Blade Gang, there were like 8-ish, and now there are 500. No, not quite 500, but it's a lot. It's growing. And I had someone write into me, Rob, yesterday suggesting that Blade Gang, the phrase itself, will replace the Saberhood, and that we will all be now like Bill's Mafia. Now we're the Blade Gang, like the entire Sabres. The entire Sabres fan base, Saberhood, that's not going to do it. Blade Gang is what we should be.
They're growing. You know, it's like as they're skating by, pick them up.
Yeah, pick them up.
You know, it's like, hey, you never know. But listen, you know, last night with the game, the only one thing that I noticed was at the very end, Dan Dunleavy was, when he was calling it, the line that was out there, the last line that was out there, he made a comment right before the goal was scored, and it was, these guys need to make a line change because they're running out of gas. And as soon as he said that, cherry-picking Pasternak scored the goal. And that's the one thing that stood out. I was like, maybe they should have concentrated more on the line changes, you know, making them sooner. And I think that kind of burned them on the butt last night. So I don't know if you agree with me on that. So anyways, keep having fun. Love you guys.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks for the call. I don't know. I trust Dan. He's probably right. I had something else I was going to say, but I forget what it was. Not important. Yeah.
Owen Power was awesome last night.
Yeah, Paul had a lot of good things to say about him, too.
I thought he played one of his best games I'd ever seen him play. I was really impressed. He was all over it. He made a couple of really nice defensive plays. I'm really encouraged by him. I've been a staunch, Power defender this year, even though I didn't really start off the year liking him very much, frankly. But I think he's been tremendous this year. And I'm really glad to see that he's not shying away from the playoff hockey stuff. I was a little worried about that with him. And really, I don't know how much more you could ask from him. He's got 3 points, and he's been great. So I just wanted to make note of that again, because I know Paul mentioned it earlier, but I wanted to get in on that too, because I thought he was really good last night. Just really noticeable all over. Yeah. Defense, offense, everywhere.
803-0550. I'm trying not to do the thing where I think, if they lose this series, I know what I'm saying on Monday about the things they're going to need in the offseason, what Yarmo's going to do. Oh. I'm not doing that. Although I think those things are actually already written. I think I already know.
I think that's right.
I already know exactly what we're going to say about this team if they don't win the Stanley Cup. I think I know exactly what we're going to say. So
let's hope that we have to wait to say it.
I'll whatever. I don't think it's somebody calling out players that aren't doing enough. And short of that, just like we came into the playoffs wondering about Jack Quinn. Mm-hmm. And that's a guy that, when it goes to overtime, I'm thinking, all right, who's my guy? Who's going to score a goal here? The Bucci overtime challenge. I took Zucker, and he had a couple chances. But, I thought about Quinn. If I'm looking to beat Swayman, I'm trying to think of my shooters. Who are my guys that if they get a spot, they can actually beat that guy? And Quinn's on the list.
Oh, yeah.
And, we'll see. Game 6 on the way. Extendo Sports, then the Northtown Automotive Extra Point Show coming up here on WGR. When you have, the moment at home, next goal wins, and if it's our guys, it's the next round, Win a period, win a round. Score a goal, win a round. And instead, back to Boston, I think a lot of Sabres fans, of course, they'll talk about, are you nervous? Are you worried? The Bruins still have to win 2 more. And the Sabres have been the better team throughout the series. But if the game looks like last night's game, maybe it feels like 2 coin tosses because, well, whatever. The games could go the other way, too, where the Sabres look like the better team and Boston can still win. We've got road teams winning 4 out of 5 in this series. Only game 1. It was almost all 5 games were won by the road team. And the Noah Ostlund news is not good. That doesn't look good. That's got me much more nervous than the loss.
Agreed.
Not supposed to be where Noah Ostlund is like the glue that holds it together, but since they put him in the lineup, they looked better. Power play looked better. Lots of things looked better. So, I don't know. What do we do about it? What do we do with it? Process it with me. 803-0550.
I think the thing that you could sort of lean on, even though, last night did not go the way you wanted it to, I thought late in the third and through most of the overtime,
dominant.
They deserved
absolutely
the win.
Yeah.
Like they were all over the Bruins. Swayman made a save on Thompson off a pass from Krebs that was absurd with only a few minutes left. That I thought was like, all right, well that was it. You didn't score there. You're probably not beating this guy tonight, and he's stealing his team another game. That's what he does. And he was stellar again last night, and I thought he was the difference. Like that those saves he made late in the third and then early in overtime all the way up until Pastrnak gets his breakaway, I thought were huge. I thought the Sabres generated enough that they, would have liked to have converted on one of those chances, but, just didn't have it in the middle sort of portion of the game, and it just was too much time that slipped away from them.
Yep. What are you guys doing this weekend? Saturday, you two. Anything? Oh, and we're golfing, aren't we?
We're golfing
Saturday.
Saturday,
Yeah.
that's right. Yes, we are. I forgot
golfing,
for a
all right.
second.
Well, then you can't. I was going to say, like, if you got nothing going on, you get you two, life, world at your feet. You should go to the Derby.
Oh, yeah.
I was very much thinking about it.
Go to the Derby.
My family, we own and race horses at Batavia Downs and all of that, so I've got that pretty ingrained, and I've always wanted to go to the Derby. So
I don't know if it's as easy as it used to be, where you could just walk in and give them $40 cash and you get inside.
Right.
I don't actually know if that's still the case. Someone can tell me maybe that's not the case, but you can do it.
Cool. I would love that.
yeah.
I love going to weird, obscure.
So I agree. Your dad sent the invite like, hey, you want to golf on Saturday? I said yes, and then I realized we're going to be golfing during the Derby.
Oh.
To which I thought, like, is that the kind of thing I'm going to say, never mind, I don't want to play? I don't think. For 2 minutes, I'll watch it on the phone on, like, the third, the 10th tee or something. But,
we could.
Derby parties are the best.
Yeah, it's an event. It's an event.
It's a good day to watch Eddie Olczyk pick horses and,
Yes.
I
feel like Eddie Olczyk is a far better horse analyst than hockey analyst.
He's a good horse analyst. He knows his
Am I allowed to
horses.
say that?
That's for sure.
Sorry, Eddie.
Yeah, you can say that. Anyway, Kentucky Derby this weekend, which is, of course, one of my favorite days of the year. But we'll be on the golf course instead. Fine. On the forecast for Saturday, high of 46.
Ooh, we're back into the cooler temperatures.
We are back into the cooler
actually,
temps.
You speaking of that golf that we were supposed to play, my dad looked at the forecast yesterday and went, ooh, Saturday 46 high? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if that sounds real attractive, but we'll see.
All right. Northtown Automotive Extra Point Show is coming up. We might get to, the game last night. Also, that report from Rich Cimini that the Jets traded up in front of the Bills in the first round because they thought the Bills were going to take Omar Cooper. And the Jets jumped up in front of them to take him because they wanted Omar Cooper Jr. Their intel was the Bills were going to take him at 31. So I think that's entirely believable. You can believe that. You can choose not to if you want. But I think it's believable. And, the draft is a series of decisions. And when you trade back, maybe the guy that's number one on your board, somebody jumps up and takes him, and you take the second guy on your board. And you don't really worry about it too much. That'd be my guess. I think it's entirely believable. But doesn't have to be a problem. So there you go. Northtown Automotive Extra Point Show. Zach and Derek coming up.